In the 90s, I married the only college graduate in our village. A decade later, I caught my husband's first love in an affair, and was brutally beaten by her and her lover. Chinwen stood by my hospital bed and pulled out my oxygen tube, staring at the man I'd devoted my whole heart to. I desperately demanded answers one last time. If it weren't for you, I could have been with Lily. Now she's back with our son. Lily stood by the bed, holding a little boy slightly older than their daughter. She was clinging to Chinwen with a sweet, dependent air. Why, then what am I? And what about our daughter? You should have died. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have wasted all these years apart from Lily. As for that bastard child, she was never meant to be born into this world to suffer. I'll never let her stand between me and Lily. I had thought my daughter choked to death by accident, only to discover it was actually Chinwen's doing. Hearing this response, I was so overwhelmed I couldn't catch my breath. Dying with unfinished business, starting over again, I returned to the eve of our wedding. 1. Yenzi, listen to your mother. That Chinwen is nothing but a college graduate, can't carry a load on his shoulders or lift a thing with his hands. If you marry him, you'll have no support and end up bearing all the burdens alone. As I listened to my mother's advice, I realized I'd been given a second chance at life. In my past life, I was drawn to Chinwen, the village's only college graduate, not just for his refined manners, but more for the vanity of having an educated husband everyone admired. Mother was right. After marriage, Chinwen did nothing but wield his pen all day, never lifting a finger in the fields. Villagers would summon him to write for weddings and funerals. He certainly knew how to keep up appearances. In my past life, I was blind to fall for such scum, enduring endless torment, even losing my daughter to his cruelty. This time, I won't let him get away with it. Gazing at my mother's face, the grievances from my past life overwhelmed me, tears streaming down unbidden. Seeing my tears, Mother grew frantic with worry. Sweetheart, if something's troubling you, just tell me, don't just cry. If you really want to marry Chinwen. I grasped my mother's hands tightly, my gaze resolute. Mom, I've decided not to marry Chinwen. Mother froze momentarily before her face lit up with joy, though still somewhat skeptical. Mom didn't press further when she saw how resolute I was. I took a deep breath and held Mom's hand. Mom, I'm really not marrying him. Chinwen might seem impressive, but he never lifts a finger at home. Life with him would be miserable. Alright, you're still young. We'll take our time finding you a match after your father comes back from his migrant work at year's end. Mom thought I was just brushing her off, but I truly meant it. I just didn't know how to explain. 2. The next day, when Chinwen's family came to discuss the marriage, I stepped forward and made my stance clear. This wedding wasn't happening. Chinwen rushed over to confront me after hearing the news. An uneducated woman like you should feel lucky I even noticed you. Staring at Chinwen's face, I suppressed my hatred with difficulty and let out a cold laugh. Who do you think you are? Some freeloading manchild. I'm not spending my life waiting on your highness. Chinwen's expression darkened as he struggled to contain his anger. That shabby empty house of his still relies on my dowry to furnish the place and keep up appearances. Yenzi, you agreed before. Stop being so difficult. If you keep this stubbornness up, I'll really lose my temper. Fighting back disgust, I retorted, since when have I been difficult? You used to chase after me. Who's this act for now? Chinwen immediately reached out to grab me. My brother stepped in and shielded me behind him. Can't you see my sister doesn't want to marry you? Get lost. I stared at Chinwen's disgusting face, wondering what kind of trash I'd gotten involved with. Get lost or I'll dump this slop on you. If it weren't for your fat dowry, you think I'd settle for you? Chinwen kept running his mouth. I stormed inside and flung a bucket of kitchen slops at Chinwen. Seeing Chinwen drenched with rotting vegetable scraps finally lifted the gloom that had weighed on me for days. Chinwen frantically brushed off the stains, never expecting I'd actually splash him. This was one of his only 2 decent outfits. You shrew, just wait, I'm done with you. Let's see who'd ever marry you now. Seeing me completely unfazed, Chinwen stormed off in a huff, sleeves flaring, watching his retreating figure. I felt strangely dazed. I remember in my past life, Linley came back once, but suddenly left for some unknown reason. But that boy I saw at death's door, judging by his age, he might have been conceived around this time. I kept this matter quietly in mind. When Chinwen's mother found out about us, she came in person with gifts to persuade me. Looking at my mother-in-law from my past life before me, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. Chinwen's mother was also an unfortunate woman. After losing her husband, she remarried, bringing Chinwen along as baggage. Her new husband's family were kind people. Not only did they not look down on her, but they also raised Qin Wen and put him through college. However, after graduating from college, Qin Wen didn't return to his mother's side. Instead, he went back to his biological father's village. In my past life, Qin Wen's bragging made me realize his homecoming was largely about showing off, unemployed and unwilling to lower his standards. This arrogant slacker naturally looked down on rural teaching positions. That mother-in-law never gave me trouble in my previous life. In fact, plagued by guilt over remarrying and abandoning her son, she frequently gave Qin Wen financial support. Qin Wen saw everything clearly yet accepted the handouts without gratitude, taking them as his due. Whether she knew about my eventual death remains unclear, but given her habitual indulgence toward Qin Wen, she would certainly have turned a blind eye, watching the helpless woman standing at the doorway. My mother didn't take the basket from her hands but simply coldly refused her entry. Whether Qin Wen's mother was pitiful or not had nothing to do with me. In the days that followed, rumors gradually spread through the village that Qin Wen and I were dating and planning to get married. My mother was frantic with worry about what people might say, but I completely ignored it all. Because I knew Qin Wen's white moonlight would appear in a month, and then I'd be completely irrelevant. I asked my brother to keep an eye on Qin Wen in the village in case he tried anything shady. 3. In my past life, though Qin Wen constantly called me an uneducated woman, I'd actually completed 10th grade, but being my parents' only daughter, villagers kept calling me a financial burden until the gossip became unbearable and I dropped out. Looking back now, those trivial rumors mean nothing compared to the harsh realities of life. I dug out my treasured high school textbooks, only to find the knowledge inside strangely unfamiliar. Mom, could you ask Uncle for me? I want to go back to school. What, Swallow, you want to go back to school? That's right, with job placements still available after college these days. I'll study hard this time and make sure you and Dad live comfortably someday. Alright then, I'll go ask right away. Though prosperity was still far off, Mom happily agreed when she heard I'd stopped obsessing over Qin Wen. Since my uncle taught at the high school, my school enrollment was settled before long. This time, study hard and don't give up halfway again. Standing in my uncle's office, he patiently reminded me, I understand, Uncle, I'll study hard this time. Wearing my old school uniform, I walked into the classroom. My classmates, having likely heard about my past, whispered among themselves. I stood confidently on the podium and began my self-introduction. Hello everyone, my name is Jean Yen. Starting today, I'll be studying with all of you. I appreciate your kindness. Whispering voices rose from the audience. I can't believe she has the nerve to show up at school. Seriously, she's practically engaged and still doing this. Gotta admire her guts. Still, dropping everything to go back to school takes serious determination. Determination, my foot. The murmurs swirled around me. There was no stopping the gossip mill now. After class, a stylishly dressed girl blocked my path. You must be Jean Yen. Didn't I introduce myself already? And you are? I'm Lin Mei. Searching through my memories, I think Lin Li's younger sister was indeed named Lin Mei. I cut straight to the chase. What do you want from me? Can't I call you without a reason? Aren't you ashamed? So young yet already clinging to someone else's man. I arched an eyebrow. Which I saw me clinging to someone else's man, and who exactly is this someone else? Of course, Lin Mei suddenly stopped mid-sentence with a disdainful humph. Without another word, she turned and walked away. Unlike her favored sister Lin Mei, Lin Li had to start working right after elementary school. Every time she returned to the village dressed fashionably, the locals would flock around her in admiration. Though raised in a single-parent household, Lin Mei never fell behind in fashion thanks to Lin Li's influence. 4. By this time, Qin Wen was probably about to marry Lin Li. Hope these two stay locked together forever and stop tormenting others. On my way home, the fleeting figure by the roadside was unmistakably Qin Wen. I quietly followed and sure enough, spotted Qin Ming and Lin Li standing before a shabby little house. To my surprise, Lin Li had returned ahead of schedule. All Wen, what took you so long? Lily, sorry to keep you waiting. The woman's plaintive voice melted Qin Wen's heart completely. He reached out, pulled her close, and carried her into the small cabin. Soon, discordant sounds began emanating from the cabin. As I walked back slowly, it became clear, Qin Wen and Lin Li were together at this very moment. I thought that once they got together, I would be out of the picture. To my surprise, Qin Wen showed up at my place again the very next day. Yanzi, just agree to compensate me with your dowry. And I'll never bother you again, otherwise, I'll tell everyone you've been fooling around with another man. Qin Wen's shamelessness had once again redefined my understanding of the word. My gaze turned icy as I stared at Qin Wen. Go ahead, try me. Qin Wen faltered under my glare, but thinking of his empty home and not wanting Lily to suffer, he squared his shoulders defiantly. You're the one who broke your promise. I deserve compensation, not a penny for you. Get lost before I throw this slop water on you. You'll pay for this. Remembering last time's humiliation, Qin Wen stormed off after throwing out some harsh words. The next day, Qin Wen showed up at my school to help me withdraw, saying we were going back to get married. When my deskmate rushed over to tell me the news, I could hardly believe it. Teacher, we're dropping out. Jinyan's getting married. The moment I stepped into the office, Qin Wen's words hit my ears. Before Qin Wen could react, I landed 2 sharp slaps across his face. Shut your filthy mouth. A disgrace like you tarnishes the reputation of educated people, I sneered. You damn shrew. I'll beat you to death. Qin Wen lunged at me. The teachers rushed to intervene while my uncle looked at me with a pained expression. Causing such a scene at school, what a disgraceful spectacle. Exactly, if you don't want to study, just go home. This is utterly ridiculous. The poor girl clearly had no idea what was going on. This man was actually one of our school's top graduates. How did he end up like this? Indeed, we really need to strengthen moral education for students. The gossip about Qin Wen and me kept circulating around us. I raised my voice. Let me make this clear once again. I have absolutely no connection with Qin Wen. He's no longer a student here. And I hope the faculty will instruct security to stop letting irrelevant people onto campus. Qin Wen rolled up his sleeves and charged forward. How dare you keep me out? You think I can't do anything about it? My uncle quickly stepped in front of me. A wave of warmth washed over me. I wasn't alone in this fight. I stared at Qin Wen and muttered something under my breath. Qin Wen froze at my words, then gave me one last look before walking away. I apologized to my teachers and classmates and promised that this would never happen again. I glanced provocatively at Lin Mei in the crowd. This man wasn't the one I was after. Lin Mei felt a bit dazed. This didn't seem to match what her sister had told her. In the afternoon, my brother came to tell me during my break that Qin Wen had gone crazy when he saw Linley fooling around with a man in a cabin in the woods east of the village. He got into a fight with the man and ended up severely beaten. The man was also sent to prison for intentional injury. I told him when Qin Wen was about to hit me in the office. There's a man in the small house at the east end of the village. Qin Wen's heart was with Linley, and regardless of whether the news was true or false, the mere mention of the small house at the east end of the village caught him completely off guard. Only this time, it was Qin Wen who ended up severely beaten and lying in a hospital bed. In this second life, I stayed away from Qin Wen, yet without me, their happiness seemed hollow. Linley and a man seized the moment when Qin Wen's mother was absent, pushing open the hospital room door to stare at him. Pathetic, thought he could cover for us, but turned out to be worthless. Linley sneered as she yanked out Qin Wen's oxygen tube. What the hell are you doing? Qin Wen glared furiously. Watching helplessly as his lifeline was severed, Linley gently caressed her belly, placing a finger to her lips. Shh, keep it down, don't startle mine and brother Jin's baby. Jin Chi, it's you. So this child is actually yours. Then who's that man in prison? So the child wasn't his after all. Qin Wen drew his last breath with eyes wide open, unable to close them in death. Linley would never admit that the man was merely a decoy. Her real cover was for Jin Chi. As she turned to leave, Linley spotted Lin Mei. It never crossed Linley's mind that Lin Mei would tail her to the hospital. What are you doing here? How much did you hear? Linley demanded sharply. Sis, how could you become like this? Why? Lin Mei cried in anguish. Since she could no longer maintain her perfect image in front of her sister, she decided to drop all pretenses. What? Looking down on your big sister now? Where was this attitude when I was paying for your education all these years? Lin Mei pleaded. Sis, turn yourself in. Jin Chi's face darkened instantly. Need me to handle this? Linley quickly pulled Lin Mei aside. What nonsense are you spouting? Listen, take today's secret to your grave, or even I can't protect you. With that, she left arm in arm with Jin Chi. In the end, Linley couldn't ignore the bond she shared with her sister. Lin Mei watched her sister's retreating figure as if seeing her for the first time. Watching from the corner, I realized Qin Wen's death did nothing to quell the hatred burning within me. Soon after, Qin Wen's mother returned to find her son dead, then falsely accused me of his murder when reporting to the police. As I looked at this woman showing signs of aging before me, it became clear, she wasn't innocent after all. The police found no evidence linking me to the crime in the room, so they just took my statement and let me go. Qin Wen's mother started spreading rumors that I killed him. But I maintained my innocence publicly, saying we should wait for the police investigation results. Little sister, everything's ready, when do we begin? Twirling the flash drive in my fingers, I murmured, death would be too merciful, let them torment each other first. I'd shared my bizarre experiences with my brother, and he chose to believe me without question. 5. Later during a police raid, Linley was arrested. Turns out her working away from home had actually meant walking the streets. When she reached that age, she decided to return and settle down with a dependable man. Poor Qin Wen with his weak family background became her target. Back when money came easy, Linley still ended up fooling around with Jin Qi, the village chief's son, purely for financial gain. It wasn't long before Linley tested positive for STDs, and Jin Qi, who'd been involved with her, couldn't escape the same fate. Jin Qi drained his family's savings trying to get treatment, but his condition never improved. He took all his anger out on Linley, and during their struggle, she lost the baby. As the police investigation deepened, they discovered that Qin Wen's death was connected to Linley and Jin Qi. The police began to hunt for Linley, who had just been released from prison. Linley and Jin Qi began their brief life on the run. One early morning, Jin Qi and Linley were found dead under a bridge outside the village. Both had multiple chaotic stab wounds, and the police ruled their deaths as the result of a mutual fight. After learning that her son had been killed by Linley, Qin Wen's mother frequently went to Linley's home to make a scene. When Linley's mother learned what had happened to her daughter, she blamed herself for thinking that the family's burdens had ruined her daughter. She fell gravely ill and never recovered, leaving Lin Mei to quietly collect and bury Linley's body. The last time I saw Lin Mei, she was so haggard and worn that she was barely recognizable. She just looked at me from a distance and then walked away. I heard that Lin Mei later dropped out of school to take care of her mother. As things unfolded, people around me just said I was unlucky to meet a scumbag, but thankfully I cut my losses in time. But none of that matters anymore. Everything was settled before my college entrance exams, and these things won't affect me anymore. I got into my dream university and stayed in the provincial capital to work after graduation. I kept my promise and brought my parents to live in the provincial capital, where our days now pass with light-hearted ease. These experiences prompted my brother to leave our village and seek opportunities elsewhere. Occasionally reminiscing about my infatuation with Qin Wen feels like recalling a distant lifetime. Now I stand on my own, pursuing a career I'm passionate about. Understanding true happiness comes from my own efforts, not relying on others. As for Qin Wen, Linley, or even Jin Qi, they were merely passing chapters in my life, drifting further away from my world with each passing day. Yenzi, it's time you found someone, came Mom's daily nagging right on schedule. With a resigned sigh, I looped my arm through hers. Mom, not this again. Lin Mei side story. I have an enviable sister who always brings me beautiful clothes whenever she returns from work. She even covers all my school expenses, and I'm truly grateful to have such a wonderful sister. But one day, my sister confessed she had feelings for Qin Wen from our village and they were dating. I was shocked. Since everyone was saying Qin Wen was practically engaged to Jin Yan, I tried to talk her out of it, but she insisted Jin Yan was the one chasing after Qin Wen. Out of trust for my sister, I bought into that story. But soon enough, reality proved me wrong. It was clearly Qin Wen causing trouble at school, and Qin Wen being unreasonably persistent. I didn't want my sister to be deceived, so I tried to warn her. Yet I saw my sister heading to the abandoned woodshed at the east end of the village, a shepherd's old dwelling that had fallen into disuse. I couldn't fathom why she went there, but moments later, she emerged arm in arm with Qin Wen. I confronted her in a heated argument. How could she throw herself at this scoundrel Qin Wen? Knowing full well he was trouble, she sent Qin Wen away first, then confided in me about her struggles. Moved by her sacrifices, I agreed to keep her secret. She promised to cut ties with him for good, but soon after, I heard Qin Wen had been severely beaten in the woodshed east of the village. I rushed to the hospital to confirm, only to hear the words I dreaded most in my life. My sister was playing multiple men and, together with Jin Qi, murdered Qin Wen. I confronted her to make her see reason, but she told me to stay out of it, leaving me terrified every single day. As I looked at Jin Yan, my anger faded, replaced by growing concern. Somehow, I couldn't shake the feeling she was involved in these matters, but soon after, my sister got arrested and was diagnosed with an STD. I was frantic with worry and rage. I wanted to bring my sister home and stop this madness. But mother fell ill upon hearing the news. Torn between caring for my mother and searching for my sister daily, I ultimately dropped out of school. I once looked down on Jean Yen for being uneducated, yet now I've become what she used to be. My sister seems aware of my search and deliberately avoids me. Despite my sister's troubled past, I choose to believe life's burdens simply bowed her back. Eventually, rumors about my sister spread like wildfire, and she met a tragic end amidst the vicious gossip. I stopped lying to myself. I truly had such a sister. I'm in no position to judge her sacrifices, but the version of me tormented by those cruel rumors no longer feels guilt. I quietly buried her remains and planted white gardenias by her grave, praying she'd live untroubled and pure in her next life. I left my hometown with my gravely ill mother. Though our days of poverty outside were harsh, at least I had peace of mind. Story 2, Sinan and I were the most notorious toxic couple in our circle. When he kept a mistress to spite me, I rammed my car into his legs. When he secretly mourned his white moonlight, I smashed the tombstone. For 20 years we'd been locked in this vicious cycle, endlessly wishing each other a gruesome death. Yet when we were both bitten by the venomous snake, he gave me the last dose of anti-venom. With his dying breath, he whispered to me, warning, I owe you nothing in this life. In the next, release me. Let me be with Moonlight, won't you? Moonlight is my younger sister, the fake heiress our whole family doted on. So in the end, their love was always hers. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on that night I'd been drugged and framed. I stabbed my thigh with a fruit knife to force myself to stay calm. Then I turned and walked away. Let's go our separate ways and leave the past behind. Sinan died with his eyes wide open, filled with regret, because I stubbornly refused to promise I'd let him be with Jiang Mingyue in our next life. I deliberately provoked him. Dream on if you think you'll have another life with Jiang Mingyue. You'll always be mine, alive as Jiang Wanning's husband, dead as my ghost. He glared at me with dying eyes before drawing his last, labored breath. The C family resents me for showing no mercy. They forbade me from attending his funeral, yet I went anyway. I'm no pampered Jiang family heiress, but a street-smart survivor raised in the orphanage trenches. I knocked out the guard they left to watch me. I vaulted over the balcony railing. I didn't care if I ended up battered and bleeding, but when I rushed to the funeral, I saw Jiang Mingyue's ashes being buried alongside Sinan, this lifetime. So that's why they wouldn't let me come. They wanted Sinan and Jiang Mingyue to be buried together. What about me, his lawful wife who stood by Sinan for 20 years? Where will they bury me when I die? I staggered unsteadily. My son, whom I carried for 10 long months and brought into this world with great difficulty, quickly stepped forward to shield me. He said with undisguised disgust, Mom, wasn't killing Dad enough? Are you really going to deny his final wish? My throat is burning with pain. I rasped hoarsely, Shaza, but your father's dying wish was to be buried with another woman, and you expect Mother to endure this too? The son retorted vehemently. She's not just some other woman, she's Mingyue's mom. In my heart, she's 10,000 times better than you. If we'd known how vicious you are, Dad should have divorced you sooner to be with Mingyue's mom. Better that than letting Dad live with lifelong regret. My mother, who'd lost me for 18 years before bringing me home yet never showed me a day's love, also spoke with tear-reddened eyes. Yes, we should have let Mingyue and Sinan be together back then. You and that boy are both equally eccentric, perfect for torturing each other. My father and brother glared at me with undisguised loathing. Indeed, we should have married you off to that heartless family wretch when we had the chance. One wrong decision has doomed our Mingyue to a lifetime of misery. I stared at these faces glaring at me with pure hatred. Nothing but bitter amusement filled my heart. It was them who looked down on the C family for not being as wealthy as the Huas, too precious to let their beloved Mingyue suffer in marriage. They schemed to swap my betrothal with Jiang Mingyue's, yet now I'm the only one being treated as the villain. I watched their antics like a clown show. Then I kicked my son who was blocking my way. Since Sinan married me, he belongs to me. Dream on if you think you'll be buried with another woman. I'd rather die today than let Jiang Mingyue's ashes stay here. I had barely taken a step towards Sinan's gravestone when I froze in my tracks. It was a shared burial plot. The headstone meant for Sinan alone now read, Sinan, resting with beloved Mingyue, may we be together through all lifetimes, united as one heart. At that moment, the tears held back for so long finally fell. Sinan never truly loved me. in this world, I've always been alone, all my obsessions have faded from my heart, I collapsed heavily to the ground, the compass, I promise you, if there's a next life, I'll make it happen for you. The air suddenly grew thick with the heavy scent of alcohol. A scorching body pressed against me from behind. Never did I expect to open my eyes again. I'd actually been reborn. I'd returned to that fateful night when Sinan and I were drugged and ambushed. This was Jiang Mingyue's 20th birthday celebration. Somehow, Sinan and I ended up being shoved onto the bed without knowing why. In 10 minutes, Princess Jiang Mingyue would burst through this door with her entourage, and thus began the tragedy of our lives. A pair of unyielding arms suddenly encircled my waist, the scent of pine from his body enveloped me completely, so achingly familiar it nearly brought me to tears, yet I knew, this fragrance, like its owner, was never meant for me. I bit my tongue hard to stay conscious, but struggling free from Sinan's entangled arms proved difficult. In my weakened state, I stood no chance against Sinan. Through the haze of dizziness, I suddenly heard Sinan whimper something, Jiang Wanning. Don't you dare come near me ever again. I snapped back to reality. I grabbed the fruit knife from the nightstand and stabbed my own thigh without hesitation. Then I knocked out Sinan with the bedside lamp as he tried to cling to me. With one last glance at the unconscious man, I walked away without looking back. So Sinan had been reborn too. This lifetime, I won't cling to you anymore. May all your wishes come true. The moment I stepped out of that house, Jiang Mingyue and her girlfriends arrived right on schedule. Pushing open the door, they found only the unconscious Sinan in the room. Jiang Mingyue's face briefly contorted when she didn't see me, but she quickly masked her expression. Sinan let out an involuntary whimper. Her girlfriends, all insiders in their circle, quickly noticed his odd behavior. We've all seen every trick in the book. In an instant, everyone pieced together what had happened. They were certain someone had framed Sinan, the fiancé of the Jiang family's most cherished daughter. They made a huge scene demanding to find the culprit. Someone maliciously shouted my name. It must be that housekeeper's daughter of yours. She framed him out of jealousy over your relationship with Sinan. How utterly vicious. Jiang Mingyue held the still-dazed Sinan in her arms, tears streaming down her face as she whispered weakly, "Don't speak of wanting like that. Even though she's had feelings for Sinan all along, she would never do such a thing." My hopelessly biased brother immediately chimed in, "Mingyue, you're just too kind-hearted. That Lin Wanning woman not only stole your identity, now she's after your man too. If I find out she's really behind this, I'll make sure she regrets being born." That's exactly how they were in my past life. They condemned me without even hearing my side. Even if I screamed myself hoarse claiming I was framed, not a single soul believed me. Nobody expects a housemaid's daughter to have any moral integrity. They're utterly convinced I'm some scheming slut who'll stop at nothing to climb the social ladder. But the truth is completely different, yet they remain unaware. In reality, I'm the true Miss Jiang of this family. The Lin family never publicly acknowledged my identity after bringing me back. Thanks to Jiang Mingyue's subtle manipulations, everyone even mistook me for the housekeeper's daughter. So that's how it is. It's not like I didn't try to explain, but all I got in return was more mockery and sarcasm. They say I'm so jealous of Jiang Mingyue that I've developed hysterical delusions, even fantasizing about being the biological daughter of the Lin family. An overwhelming tide of malice surrounds me, driving me to the brink of madness, yet not a single soul stepped forward to help. Even my own parents and brother turned against me. They looked down on me with contemptuous accusations, calling me underhanded and malicious. This scene haunted my nightmares for 20 years. Thankfully, in this lifetime, I'll never have to go through this again. I'm done with the drama in this house. Stepped outside and made a call. Hudingshan, I've agreed to move the wedding date forward as you suggested. Also, could you send someone over to help me with something? I think I need to go to the hospital. A black Bentley pulled up right in front of me. As the car door opened, Huatingshan's aloof aristocratic features came into view. Too, this untouchable prince of Beijing's elite circles always carried that impenetrable air of detachment. In her past life, Jiang Mingyue had finally married him as she'd always wished. Little did she know, he truly lived up to his reputation of being cold and unapproachable, even if she stood naked before him. He wouldn't give her a second glance. In the end, Jiang Mingyue couldn't bear the loneliness and went looking for male escorts, only to end up contracting a nasty STD. In the end, she took her own life for fear of the scandal coming to light. Little did she know, such was this woman, yet she remained in Sinan's heart for a lifetime, held that grudge against me for life, masking the mockery and hatred in my eyes. I thanked Hua Tingshan with deliberate indifference. Hua Tingshan tilted his chiseled profile slightly, casting a glance at my disheveled state, his handsome brows furrowed almost imperceptibly. Don't mention it. After a thoughtful pause, he continued, from now on we're family, don't hesitate to come to me with anything. After all, you saved Grandpa's life. Grandpa insisted I treat you well, the really, really good kind. Hua Tingshan's words made my eyes sting with emotion. In my past life, I accidentally saved Grandpa Hua when he collapsed from a heart attack, the former patriarch of the Hua family, whom both the Lin and Si families would kill to get close to. After learning about my background, he looked at me with tender concern, saying he wanted to introduce me to a good match, to ensure my lifelong security. Turns out this good match was his own grandson, Hua Tingshan. Little did I expect. Fate had other plans. I never married Hua Tingshan. Nor did I live the carefree life the old man had hoped for, yet I've tasted all the bitterness life has to offer. But the old man's affection for me was genuine. Even when his lamp was running dry, he still remembered to ask Hua Tingshan to look after me. That's why the Jiang and Si families' businesses flourished afterward. Jiang Mingyue caused such a disgraceful scandal, yet Hua Tingshan chose not to expose it, sparing the Jiang family public humiliation. It hit me instantly, but in this lifetime, I refused to waste any more favors on them. After spending half the night on an 4 drip at the hospital, I finally staggered home the next morning. To my surprise, when I opened the villa's front door, the entire Jiang family, who normally left for work early, were all gathered in the living room today. Jiang Mingyue spotted me, buried her face in her mother's bosom as if frightened. Seeing this, my brother stormed toward me in fury. He slapped me hard across the face. So the little bastard finally shows up. On your knees. Feeling the sting on my face, I stared fixedly at the man before me. He was my biological brother. I used to adore him so much, truly wonderful. During those years of being bullied at the orphanage, I dreamed of having an older brother to protect me, and then, against all odds, it actually happened to me. The day the Jiang family found me, I looked at him with hopeful eyes. I dreamed he'd be like those protective older brothers from TV dramas. Someone who'd shield and believe in me. For a brief moment, he was kind to me too. 3. He looked at the wounds on my body, said, warning, don't worry, with me here, I won't let anyone hurt you ever again. But whenever Jiang Mingyue cried, he forgets everything in an instant, a rotten seed, worthless trash. Whenever Jiang Mingyue gets upset, all hell breaks loose on me without mercy. Because of this shallow familial bond, I suffered for so long. I always thought I wasn't good enough to earn my family's affection. It's really no big deal. When the older kids bullied me at the orphanage, when that vile teacher molested me, how I wished they would descend from the heavens to protect me, yet they never showed up, not even once. That's when it all became clear to me. The only person I could rely on was myself. With my teeth, my fists, and that reckless ferocity, I forged myself into a ruthless woman. I became my own protector. I should do the same. Love yourself always, protect yourself always. So, the next moment, my slap landed squarely on Jiang Chaoyang's face. You idiot, what gives you the right to hit me? My strike came so fast that everyone froze in shock. They never imagined that the same pitiful wretch who'd groveled for their affection could do this. How dare you lay hands on your favorite brother? Until Jiang Mingyue burst into tears. Sister, how could you hit brother? I know you dislike me, resent me for stealing your identity, for taking your fiancé brother Sinan from you. You can hit me or do whatever you want to me, but please don't take it out on my brother. Jiang Chaoyang came to his senses, his face flushing red with anger. Mingyue, don't cry. That vile woman who resorts to cheap tricks like drugging people, she's not worth a single tear from you. You want me to give up my status for her? Listen well, Jiang Wanning. I, Jiang Chaoyang, only acknowledge Mingyue as my sister. A rotten seed like you from the orphanage isn't worthy. Staring at Jiang Chaoyang's arrogant expression, I suddenly found the whole situation utterly absurd. I could no longer suppress the question that had haunted me for 2 lifetimes. Brother, how can you say so casually that I'm unworthy of being your sister just because I grew up in an orphanage? It was your own carelessness that lost me in the first place. If Jiang Chaoyang hadn't been so reckless that year, begging our parents to take him on that roller coaster, once wasn't enough, had to do it again, and then a 3rd time. Even when Mom said his sister was too young to leave alone at the ticket counter, he wouldn't listen. That day, while Jiang Chaoyang was riding his 4th roller coaster, I was taken away. They couldn't find me. Jiang Chaoyang didn't even bother looking for me. let alone feel guilty. I even suggested they adopt another child around my age. From then on, they poured all their guilt and love for me into that other child. By the time I returned, yet they looked down on my humble origins, accusing me of lacking nobility. But what fault is truly mine? Jiang Chaoyang fell into an uncharacteristic silence, conscience-stricken, but I still couldn't swallow my anger and added, that still doesn't justify your resentment towards Mingyue. If you hate me, take it out on me directly. Why would you drug Sinan just to hurt Mingyue? I drugged Sinan. Did you see it happen? Jiang Chaoyang declared with righteous indignation. It wasn't me, but it was definitely you. Who else in this family hates Mingyue so much while secretly pining for Sinan? I gritted my teeth in fury. What a brilliant deduction, you idiot. Do you even know you need evidence to convict someone? With all these surveillance cameras at home, why don't you check the footage and see who actually drugged you right under young Master Zhang's nose? Jiang Chaoyang said thoughtfully. Oh right, we've got security cameras at home, they must have caught who did it. I'm going to the surveillance room right now to pull the footage and wipe that smug look off your face. After being reborn, I'd sworn not to let this family's favoritism get to me anymore, yet at this moment, my heart still aches. How absolutely convinced they were that I did this. They didn't even bother to check the surveillance footage. Just like that, they convicted me without a second thought. Just when I thought things were about to take a turn for the better, my mother, holding Jiang Mingyue who was visibly avoiding eye contact, hurled a vase at me without hesitation. I couldn't dodge in time. Blood immediately began to seep from my forehead. My mother glared at me coldly and said, "Haven't you caused enough chaos in this family since you returned last night?" The entire capital was laughing at our Jiang family. 2 sisters fighting over a man, and your own brother-in-law at that. How could you stoop so low? Since you're so infatuated with Sinan that you'd even drug him, let's settle this now. I decree that Mingyue shall yield him to you. After all, you were the one originally betrothed to the C family from the beginning. When the C family comes with the marriage proposal in a few days, you'll wed him in Mingyue's stead. 3. Me, marry him. What about Jiang Mingyue? Just like my past life, marrying into the Hua family in my stead, they just won't give up their schemes to steal my destined marriage. I stared in utter disappointment at the woman who'd spoken those words with such casual indifference. My eyes burned with unshed tears of blood. She is my mother. I once adored her beyond measure. Every day in the orphanage, I longed for her. I feared my younger self might forget her face. Every day I forced myself to trace her features in my mind, over and over. 10 minutes later, no one knows how deeply I've missed her all these years. That's why meeting her again left me utterly heartbroken. She clutched the fake daughter tightly, eyeing me with defensive hostility, whispered tenderly to Jiang Mingyue in her arms, "Don't be afraid, Mingyue. Even if she were my biological child, she could never replace you in this lifetime." That moment, I felt abandoned by them all over again. I blinked hard to fight back the tears, because I know tears from loveless eyes mean nothing. Crying yourself to death won't change a thing. Besides, I've shed enough tears in past lives already. All I want to do is laugh. This time, it's their turn to shed the tears. I stared at my mother and Jiang Mingyue's venomous, gloating faces and said, "Does Sinan know about this scheme to switch our marriage arrangements? He loves Mingyue so much, he'd never agree to this." Jiang Mingyue blinked uncomfortably before speaking. "Sinan knows I owe you an apology. He'll understand my position. Don't worry, sis, Sinan's a good man. He'll treat you right when you marry him. Guess we just weren't meant to be." I gazed at Jiang Mingyue's face. I can't believe there exists such a shameless, two-faced bitch in this world. How dare she sugarcoat her exploitation of me with such high-sounding excuses? Her scheming is so transparent it's almost comical. I smiled and said, "What about Hua Tingshan? Jiang Chaoyang might not know, but surely you both remember. The Hua family intends to marry a Jiang daughter. They'll be sending matchmakers in a few days, so I marry Sinan, while Jiang Mingyue gets the prestigious Hua family match. Is that it? Have you forgotten? I was the one who saved the Hua family patriarch. I'm the one the Hua family actually wants to marry. Mom, Dad, am I really your biological child? Why are you playing favorites like this?" Jiang Chaoyang's jaw dropped in shock. "Mom, Dad, what did Jiang Wanning mean? The Hua family actually wants Hua Tingshan to marry her. Jiang Wanning actually saved old Master Hua's life. How come I knew nothing about this?" After all this time, Father Jiang finally spoke. He looked at me quietly, like a father watching his wayward daughter. Then they said to me in a grave tone, "Wanning, it's not that we look down on you, nor that Mom and Dad don't love you. Having spent so many years in the orphanage, your social graces naturally can't compare to your sister's. Having you and Mingyue switch marriages is actually for your own good. The Hua family's vast empire is a tangled web of complexities beyond imagination. With your temperament, you'd be devoured alive within days of marrying into the Hua household. Only Mingyue's marriage can forge a true alliance between our families. You know, our Jiang family has lingered on the fringes of Beijing's elite circles for decades, unable to break through. What a perfect opportunity this is now. Why don't you obediently marry into the uncomplicated C family and live a stable life? While letting your younger sister take your place in marrying the Hua family, I watched the paternal warmth in Father Zhang's eyes. All I could do was sneer inwardly. If that's really the case, why couldn't they just talk to me properly from the start? They had to go and drug me, ruining my entire life. This man, I trusted him completely when I first came back. I wish he could be like other fathers, a solid mountain his child can always rely on. Yet every time I was framed or misunderstood, he'd just coldly say, "Why do they only target you and leave others alone?" Warning, you should really look inward for the reasons. At that moment, it all became clear to me. This so-called father was neither trustworthy nor reliable. The only person I could count on was myself. I smiled, but I don't want to. The Hua family isn't as complicated as you make it out to be. I won't be devoured alive. Grandfather Hua promised to protect me for life. I don't believe marrying into their family would bring me hardship. Father Jiang saw he couldn't win the argument. Furious, he hurled his teacup to the ground and glared at me with burning eyes. Ungrateful child, since when do you get to decide what's acceptable? Today you'll yield whether you want to or not. The Hua family's prestigious marriage must go to your sister Mingyue. Guards, lock her in the freezer. No food or water until she agrees. Let's see how long she lasts. Father Zhang's words sent a painful tremor through my heart. Locked in the freezer, that's their go-to punishment for disobedient me. They know I'm terrified of the dark. They're aware my orphanage years left me frail. I can't handle the cold, so every time I didn't toe their line, they'd deliberately lock me in there, watching me suffer through the torment inside. They wouldn't be satisfied until they saw me sobbing on my knees, begging for mercy. The words hung in the air. Two bodyguards immediately stepped forward and twisted my arms behind my back. Jiang Mingyue looked at me with undisguised mockery. Jiang Zhaoyang stood by with complete indifference. Even my own parents seemed to wish me dead. After being reborn, must I still face this arranged marriage fate? Just as I thought I'd be humiliatingly locked in the cold storage, a chilling, deep voice suddenly spoke from behind. "Where exactly are you taking my fiancé?" Turning around, I saw the stern-faced Hua Tingshan who had silently entered the room. He wore a well-tailored dark suit. The Buddhist prayer beads perpetually adorning his wrist lent him an air of serenity, yet with just a glance, he turned Mr. Zhang's aggressive demeanor pale with fright. We were just playing a little joke on my daughter, young Master Hua. Why didn't you give us a heads up before coming?" Hua Tingshan gave a cold smirk. "Do I need your permission to go wherever I please? Besides, if I'd given a heads up, would I have gotten to witness such a spectacular scene? So my future father-in-law wants to unilaterally swap out my bride-to-be, does he? Swap what bride?" At some point, Sinan had quietly entered the room. He glared at me with disgust, then cast a wary glance at the pitiful Jiang Mingyue and the suddenly appeared Hua Tingshan before saying guardedly, "Young Master Hua, is Jiang Wanning pulling some trick again? Trying to substitute Mingyue in marriage through deception? Let me make this clear, the one engaged to you is Jiang Wanning, not Jiang Mingyue. Mingyue and I grew up together since childhood. We've had an arranged marriage since we were kids, our hearts beat as one, and we've long pledged our lives to each other. Don't you dare fall for Jiang Wanning's tricks or believe that nonsense about sister-swapping marriages." As the words hung in the air, both Madame Jiang and Jiang Mingyue turned pale, yet Sinan continued berating me. Completely oblivious, Hua Tingshan watched the rambling Sinan with an aura of unbearable pressure radiating from him. "Are you saying Wanning came up with the bride-swapping idea?" Sinan nodded in confusion. Hua Tingshan continued, "But that's not what I've heard. Had I arrived moments later, that dear sister's father of yours would have locked Wanning in the freezer, forcing her to marry you just to clear the Hua family's young mistress position for his precious Jiang Mingyue, the one scheming desperately to become Mrs. Hua was never Wanning. I recall the C family patriarch wasn't this foolish a decade ago. How did he raise such a clueless grandson, getting played like a puppet? Do you even realize the person I'm engaged to has always been Jiang Wanning? She alone is the woman I recognize as my wife." If any of you still dare to scheme about substitutions, don't blame the Hua family for being merciless, we'll make sure they can't survive in Beijing." Sinan stood thunderstruck. He stared at Jiang Mingyue in disbelief. Jiang Mingyue couldn't meet his gaze, her conscience weighing heavy. Finally forcing a pale smile, he rationalized, "No need to explain, Mingyue, Uncle Jiang forced you into this, didn't he? I know your heart belongs only to me. But you're not his biological daughter, that's why you can't defy him, right?" Jiang Mingyue heard these words, she nodded eagerly. "Brother Sinan, you're the only one who truly understands me. As an adopted daughter, how could I ever defy father's orders? A brutal beating, but you've always been the only one in my heart." Upon hearing this, the Jiang family looked as disgusted as if they'd swallowed flies. "In my past life." Madame Jiang's grip loosened unconsciously. "Mr. Jiang gave her an inscrutable look. Even the thick-skinned Jiang Chaoyang felt uneasy hearing this. I couldn't help but find the whole scene amusing. Cracks began to show in their perfect alliance. They weren't satisfied. This rift will only widen with time. But now, by day's end, Hua Tingshan had taken me away. I know. He said he wasn't comfortable with me staying here any longer. They simply didn't love me. I know he meant well. It was also for Grandpa Hua's orders. I followed his lead without hesitation. Having been given a second chance at life, I won't put myself in harm's way again." Just as Hua Tingshan and I were leaving, Sinan stopped me at the door. He leaned in and said, "Jiang Wanning, I know you've been reborn too. I'm glad you're not clinging to me this lifetime, but even if we can't be husband and wife, there's no need for you to throw yourself away. Why would you marry Hua Tingshan when you know full well he's a despicable wife-beater? Are you really the kind of woman Mingyue described, someone who'd stop at nothing to climb the social ladder?" I gave Sinan a disappointed look. The man who's been entangled with me through 2 lifetimes, we'd been together for over 20 years, and even had a son, though most of the time, we were at each other's throats. But he should know this. I'm someone who draws clear lines between love and hate. Love is love, hate is hate, never stoop to underhanded tricks. Now, all those sneaky, shameless deeds were done by his beloved Jiang Mingyue anyway. He underestimated me after all, but it's fine, to me now. He's just a stranger. What he thinks of me doesn't matter at all, I said coolly. Who I marry and what I choose to do has never been any of your business. Besides, I know Hua Tingshan far better than you ever could. That nonsense about him being some abusive monster, just Jiang Mingyue's poisonous gossip, you absolute fool. With that, I ignored the fury-twisting Sinan's expression, left without looking back. This time, I won't stand in the way of him and his beloved Mingyue anymore. Though I wonder if it'll have the fairy tale ending you're dreaming of. Hua Tingshan took me to one of his private estates. 5. After that, he left. Our wedding is scheduled in 2 weeks. I heard Jiang Mingyue and Sinan's wedding is also being planned, but for some reason, the exact date hasn't been set yet. During my 10-day stay here, Hua Tingshan never showed up. Yet any jewelry I casually complimented would magically appear before me the next day. The clothing brands I mentioned liking would be delivered to me in full collections overnight. Whenever I mentioned craving food from a particular restaurant, their head chef would personally show up at the manor that very evening to cook for me. The attention to detail was absolutely extraordinary. I never expected Hua Tingshan to follow his grandfather's instructions so dutifully, to go this far in accommodating me. But if he treated Jiang Mingyue the same way in their past life, why would she feel so lonely that she'd seek out male escorts? I've been thinking long and hard about this. In the end, I concluded Jiang Mingyue simply didn't know how good she had it. With such a wonderful husband, even seeing him just once a year would be enough. What's there to feel lonely about? I could live happily ever after with my grand estate, jewels, and designer handbags. The day before the wedding, I made one last trip back to the Jiang residence. The Jiang family was about to make connections with the Hua family, an opportunity they could only dream of before, all thanks to me. How could I not come to collect my dues? My past life has taught me, emotions get you nowhere, only money and power truly nourish a man. Under old man Jiang's resentful gaze, I took control of their flagship construction subsidiary. Then I claimed another 5% stake in the Jiang family holdings, same as Jiang Mingyue and Jiang Chaoyang's shares. Wanting, you certainly play your cards well. I signed the equity transfer without the slightest hesitation, but the benefits of marrying into the Hua family far outweigh these trivial gains. Mr. Jiang must have done the math. Whether your family gets that Eastern District land ultimately depends on Tingshan's word. Jiang's father's face momentarily contorted when I addressed him as Mr. Jiang, but he quickly composed himself. He's always been a shrewd businessman, yes. He beamed at me with an ingratiating smile, warning, I always knew you'd be the most successful of my children. The Jiang family's future rests on you now. Guess it's up to me now. But the Jiang family's next leader will have to be someone else. Outside the study, dumb as a doorknob, Jiang Chaoyang, being used as Jiang Mingyue's pawn, clearly isn't cut out for it. When I left the Jiang residence, only Jiang Chaoyang came out barking like a rabid dog, told me not to get cocky. Said I'd be tossed out like trash once the Hua family grew tired of me. Madame Jiang watched me with venom in her eyes. That gaze bore no resemblance to how a mother looks at her own child. After a long silence, she said, Wanning, are you truly determined to compete with Mingyue? I studied the woman who gave birth to me yet never loved me with profound intensity. I replied, Madame Jiang, it was never me who initiated this rivalry. Have you forgotten, unlike you? The Hua family and Hua Tingshan chose me from the very beginning. Madame Jiang froze at my form of address. When I first returned, she never allowed me to call her mother in front of others. Later, she feared people might question the identity of her beloved daughter Jiang Mingyue, but I never agreed. I don't understand why, when I'm clearly her child, why couldn't I openly call her mom, for that single word? She locked me in the freezer countless times. Even if I had to starve for 3 days in -20 degrees Celsius weather, I wouldn't change my mind. In the end, seeing how stubborn I was, Mrs. Jiang decided to never appear with me in public again, not even at my wedding with Sinan. She treated Jiang Mingyue poorly just to avoid gossip. None of them attended. Calling her mom was my obsession from a past life, but now, I've let it go. Mother Jiang gave me a long, penetrating look. In this lifetime, our mother-daughter bond has come to an end. After settling all affairs, I left the Jiang household. Strangely enough, Jiang Mingyue never showed up. They didn't give me a hard time. As long as she stays out of sight, that's fine. I'm getting married tomorrow. I doubt she'd dare cause any more trouble. But even if she tries anything, I'm not afraid. I was married at the Hua family estate. After returning to the Jiang household, I made no friends because of Jiang Mingyue. Hua Tingshan was incredibly thoughtful to have his cousin Hua Xiaoxiao serve as my bridesmaid. Hua Xiaoxiao was such a sweet and considerate young lady. I let out a scornful laugh. She took excellent care of me throughout the entire wedding day. From the morning procession to the ceremony, her support lasted until our wedding festivities concluded. She and I waited in the hotel room for Hua Tingshan to return from his business dinner, planning to head back to the Hua family estate together. But we ended up waiting in that room for ages. Hua Tingshan never showed up. My calls to him went unanswered. Hua Xiaoxiao went out to search anxiously, but couldn't find anyone. Just as I was about to join the search, one of Jiang Mingyue's gossipy friends who'd spread rumors about me came panting through the door. Oh no, Mingyue got drunk and fell asleep in her room. Then Mr. Hua went in. Maybe he mistook her for Wanning. And now there, good grief, just go check on them already. My fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. So this was Jiang Mingyue's trap all along. Ruined my wedding, then take my place. By the time we reached the house, a crowd had already gathered outside. When they saw me approaching, their faces showed either pity or schadenfreude. Jiang Mingyue's breathy moans kept drifting out from inside the room. Everyone knew exactly what kind of good time was happening in there. Hua Xiaoxiao looked at me with concern. Don't panic, sis-in-law. It must be a misunderstanding. Whether it's a misunderstanding or not, we'll know once we open this door. But before I could push it open, a shadowy figure lunged at me. The next instant, Sinan had me in a vice-like grip around the neck. Jiang Wanning, was it you? How could you be so vicious? Even now, you still won't stop harming Mingyue. Are you that desperate to marry me? But I would never wed you. I don't love you at all. You should have known this long ago. I'd rather die than love a wicked woman like you. Sinan's words left a bitter ache in my heart. I am the villainess, but had I not become this, I'd have died long ago in that orphanage. 20 years of entanglement with Sinan, he always knew exactly where to twist the knife to hurt me most, but this time, I won't go down without a fight. I kicked Sinan square in the chest with all my might, then grabbed his hair and slapped him across the face a dozen times. Me scheming against her, use that pea brain of yours. What possible gain would I have from scheming against her at my own wedding? Besides, I still want to marry you. A dimwit like you isn't fit to lick Tingshan's boots. My lady speaks the truth. I am indeed 1,000 times your better. To the astonishment of Sinan and the crowd, Hua Tingshan, who should have been inside the room entangled with Jiang Mingyue, emerged from behind them. He gasped in disbelief. Huitingxian. What are you doing here? Huitingxian responded with a faint smile, then he gently helped me up from the ground. The reason I'm here, obviously because I heard my wife was being wronged, so I came to have her back. Enough, some are claiming it was our Wanting who drugged those inside. That's why I just pulled the surveillance footage. It's been sent to your phones. Watch it and you'll see who's really the thief. Crying, stop thief. Jiang Mingyue's friend hastily grabbed her phone. The drugged man they'd brought in was no Huitingxian at all, just some 50-something distant relative of the Hu family. The man had achieved nothing noteworthy for decades, and worse, was riddled with STDs. Everyone in the circle knows they're dirty. This time, Jiang Mingyue has truly screwed herself over. Sinan watched in disbelief as Jiang Mingyue personally spiked a drink, then it was presented to Huitingxian. After that, she came to this room and waited. What else is unclear? This whole affair was Huitingxian crying thief. Huitingxian watched Sinan's meltdown with amusement. Happy now? Your precious soulmate sister has been looking down on you all along, just waiting to climb the social ladder, but she failed this time. Doubt anyone in our circle would want to marry her now. Looks like your sweet little sister has no choice but to pick you. Better hurry home and celebrate in secret. In a few days, Wanting and I will be waiting to toast at your wedding feast. Here we go again. Sinan collapsed to the ground with a defeated expression, then stared at me with a deathly pale face, murmuring to himself, was I wrong, Wanting? She's always been like this since our past life, hasn't she? Why didn't you tell me? I was wrong. Whether Sinan's compass works or not is none of my business. He totally deserved this. That evening, Huitingxian and I returned to the Hu family residence. He's every bit the gentleman as always, shared a bed yet never crossed the line. The Buddhist prince of Beijing's elite truly lives up to his reputation. For some inexplicable reason, I woke up to find our limbs entwined in a tight embrace. The intimacy of our position made my heart race. This became our daily ritual in the following days. Neither could tell who initiated the embrace. Waking up to that position, staring at that handsome face again, I'm seriously worried I might lose control. But remembering Jiang Mingyue's fate in our past life, I didn't dare make a move. Rumor has it she stripped naked to seduce him, but Huitingxian remained completely unmoved. She even got kicked out of the ancestral home. The food here is absolutely delicious, and Grandpa Hu treats me so well. I'm not about to do something stupid. Jiang Mingyue is finished. Sinan saw through her true colors and refused to marry her under any circumstances. The Jiang family completely disowned her. My mother, who once adored Jiang Mingyue, kicked her out the very next day after learning about the scandal. Jiang's father even considered marrying her off to that 50-year-old distant relative of the Hu family. Jiang Mingyue threatened to kill herself. Her father remained unmoved. In the end, Jiang Chaoyang helped her escape. The moment I heard this, everything suddenly made sense. No wonder Jiang Chaoyang doted on Jiang Mingyue so much. A single tear from her would make him punish me without question. So he'd long harbored improper feelings for Jiang Mingyue. The Jiang family's son eloped with their disgraced adopted daughter. The scandal broke, and Mr. Jiang's father collapsed. He was hospitalized and suffered partial paralysis. I didn't go to see him this lifetime, because during this time, Huitingxian and I had been studying together, and he taught me a trick: strike while the iron is hot. I used the 100 million dowry Huitingxian gave me to invest in the small company the Jiang family had transferred to me. While old Mr. Jiang was hospitalized, I snatched several major deals from their headquarters. Then I aggressively bought up their stocks when share prices plummeted. 6. Just as old Jiang began to regain some strength, another devastating blow struck. The leadership of the Jiang family had changed hands, not to the son he'd pinned his hopes on, nor to the adopted daughter he once favored. It was me. Upon hearing the news, old Jiang's face contorted and he suffered another stroke. They say he's completely paralyzed this time, can't even get out of bed anymore. Mrs. Jiang came to see me later. She confronted me, demanding why I'd been so ruthless as to drive him to utter ruin. I studied the woman before me. The successive blows had stripped away her usual composure. Deep wrinkles creased her forehead, and her once meticulously maintained black hair had turned salt and pepper. This time, the one suffering isn't me. I took a sip of coffee and said leisurely, Madam Jiang, you showed me no mercy back then either. Had the tables been turned, would you have spared me? Don't come looking for me anymore. If you need financial support, take me to court. I'll provide your pension according to the legally determined standards. Mrs. Jiang, her face twisted in resentment. tried to make a scene but was forcibly removed by security. Within days, word came that she'd been hospitalized too. Her son and beloved adopted daughter had died. Jiang Chaoyang and Jiang Mingyue were inseparable for quite some time at the beginning. He swore up and down that he'd never find Jiang Mingyue repulsive, but later, he discovered countless bumps growing all over his body. Even down there developed cauliflower-like growths. It aches and pains unbearably, making every waking moment a living hell. He wanted to seek medical treatment, only to discover the illness was incurable. He began exchanging accusations with Jiang Mingyue. Jiang Mingyue lost her gentle charm and turned aggressive. Jiang Chaoyang couldn't take it anymore and decided to return to the Jiang household. Though the Jiang family had fallen from grace, his mother's love for him remained unwavering. They'll definitely get him treated, but how could Jiang Mingyue possibly agree? She refused to suffer this hell alone. In a fit of rage, she grabbed the fruit knife from the table and stabbed Jiang Chaoyang to death, then jumped off the building to end his own life. The Jiang family suffered consecutive tragedies, yet I felt strangely uplifted. The company flourished under my leadership. Everyone praised me for rising above adversity through self-reliance. There's just one thing that's been bothering me. Sinan's been acting strange lately, showing up at my office every single day. First it was flowers, then gifts started coming. All presents I'd once wanted for myself, but he'd given to Jiang Mingyue instead. When he came waiting for me at my office building again, I finally agreed to see him. Enough. His constant pestering was getting out of hand. I didn't want to give gossips any ammunition. Seeing me approach, Sinan's face lit up with excitement. "Wanting, you finally agreed to meet me. Are you still angry with me?" He lowered his head with a bitter smile. "I know how terribly wrong I was, mistaking pebbles for pearls. I blamed you my whole life, and ruined yours in return. I never imagined Jiang Mingyue could be so vicious. Wanting, I truly wronged you. Yes, you certainly did. All those endless days and nights of being let down and neglected, that's a debt he'll never repay." Two streams of tears rolled down Sinan's face. "I truly know I was wrong. Could you just give me one chance to make it right? I know you have no feelings for Hua Tingshan. Wanting, we spent 20 years together in our past life. No one understands each other better than us, and we even have a child together. Give me a chance to start over with you and bring our child home. Will you?" Sinan looked at me with hopeful eyes. He hoped I'd agree to pick up our son together. What child? Hua Tingshan had somehow arrived as well. He approached me, his strikingly handsome face softening as he murmured, "Didn't we agree to keep this secret for the first 3 months? Sweetheart, why did you go telling strangers about the pregnancy already?" Hua Tingshan looked utterly devastated, staring at me with wounded eyes. "Wanting, you're pregnant?" I rested a hand on my belly. "Yes, I'm pregnant." "What's wrong with creating new life with someone you love?" Sinan swayed unsteadily. His lips parted as if to speak again, but not a single word would come out. In the end, I could only laugh through tears and say, "I was wrong. I don't deserve you." Wanting, "I'm sorry." This apology, I'd waited my entire past life to hear it, but I don't need it anymore. Sinan left. Watching his retreating figure, Hua Tingshan let out a huge sigh of relief. Finally got rid of that troublemaker. "If he bothers you again, tell me first. Never meet him alone." That adorable expression was a far cry from his usual aloof Buddha of Beijing's elite persona. I looked at him amusedly and said, "Since when did our Buddha of Beijing's elite become so insecure, pretending I'm pregnant, really, that desperate for reassurance?" Hua Tingshan didn't refute me. Blushing, he took my hand and said, "You know I lose all confidence around you. Wanting, after all this time. Haven't you noticed my feelings?" "Of course I have." The jewelry I merely glanced at would magically appear on my vanity the next morning. The chefs whose cooking I casually praised would be recruited into our household overnight. Countless perfectly timed acts of kindness. In our past life, he kept vigil at my graveside for 3 days and nights after my passing. If I still don't get it, I must be an idiot. I reached out my hand, gently hooked his finger in return. "Mr. Hua, would you like to hear my confession?" Hua Tingshan looked at me expectantly. Then I said, "I like you too." Overjoyed, Hua Tingshan lowered his head and kissed me deeply. I was such a fool, should have confessed sooner. Otherwise, we'd really be having a baby by the time reality hit, but I think the timing was just right. Perfectly. I found my confidence again. As luck would have it, you love me too. The end. Story 2. After rebirth, I avoided Gu Zhichuan like the plague. When he decided to stay at the hospital, I immediately packed my bags and joined my professor's archaeological expedition in the remote mountains. The moment he mentioned bringing my sister over, I moved back to the dormitory. As soon as he bought the engagement ring, I applied to a university in faraway Beijing. In our past life, he vowed to remain child-free, yet he doted on his stepsister's childlike treasure. In old age, the child I raised with such devotion ignored my sickbed pleas to reunite his birth mother with Gu Zhichuan. 1. Seeing my name handwritten by the teacher on the travel roster finally eased my worries. Just days ago, I turned down my professor's invitation to join him at the newly discovered burial site in northern Shaanxi, because my wedding with Gu Zhichuan is happening next month. In my past life, I gave up my beloved archaeology career just to stay by his side. Yet no one could have anticipated that this seemingly ordinary expedition would lead my professors to uncover the largest tomb complex of the century. It was around this time that my classmates and teachers began their meteoric rise in the following years. As for me, I became just an ordinary middle school teacher, but little did anyone know I'd been reborn. Yajun, aren't you getting married to your fiancé next month? How do you suddenly have time to join us? Teacher Li adjusted her glasses and gave me a puzzled look. When I think of Gu Zhichuan, the first things that come to mind are his striking features and that ever-present faint scent of antiseptic clinging to him. I shook my head. The wedding, let's postpone it for now. Taking a deep breath, I said, in any case, I'm truly grateful for this second chance you've given me. Thank you. I bowed deeply. The teacher sighed and told me to pack my things, preparing to leave in 3 days. Suppressing my excitement, I walked out of the research institute. 2. In my past life, I let this golden opportunity slip away. The very next month, I married Gu Zhichuan. He's a PhD graduate from overseas, highly educated with progressive ideas. Due to his family background, he's adamant about remaining child-free. He'd made it clear before marriage, though I regret never having children of my own, but I love him, and I choose this willingly with full acceptance. So when my mom suggested taking in my sister's out-of-wedlock baby, I agreed without hesitation. Though Gu Zhichuan never wanted children of his own, he's always been wonderful to this child. I was genuinely grateful to him for that, or so I thought. He loves me, so he loves everything associated with me. It's because of his love for me that he treats this child so well. Until the child marries and has children of his own, until my old age, I treated him as my own, but in my twilight years, a sudden illness shattered the fragile illusion of happiness I'd clung to for half a lifetime. Turns out Gu Zhichuan's kindness to this child was truly love me, love my dog, not for my sake at all, but for my sister's. All these years, Gu Zhichuan hadn't just been raising his stepsister Zhou Yuting's child, he'd been supporting Zhou Yuting herself all along. Zhou Yuting doesn't have to raise children or take care of elderly parents, yet every month she lives a leisurely life spending Gu Zhichuan's money, while I'm just the household drudge, tending to both children and aging parents. Even the child I poured my heart into raising prefers her company. Even in old age, they were still desperately trying to matchmake Gu Zhichuan and Zhou Yuting. I died with unfinished business, remembering my pathetic past life where everyone took me for a fool. I took a deep breath and headed home. 3. Though we haven't had the ceremony yet. Gu Zhichuan and I got legally married last month. The apartment was allocated to him by the hospital, a 2-bedroom unit with a living room. I had just gotten home when Gu Zhichuan returned from work, carrying several large bags in his hands. He saw me and said with a smile, "There are so many colleagues at the hospital, I'm worried we might run short on wedding candies. Let's pack extra, so I can give some to everyone." My hands paused mid-task as I gave him a cool glance, saying nothing. "Go rest. I'll handle the picking." Gu Zhichuan didn't notice my expression as he helped me up and took my spot on the small stool. "Mom said she's bringing Yuting and Dongdong over tomorrow. Since we're short on space, why don't you move into my room and let them have the guest room?" When Gu mentioned mom, he meant my mother. Yuting was my stepfather's child from after my mother remarried. She dropped out of middle school to chase romance, only to be left alone with a baby when the man ran off. My mom urged her to secretly abort the baby, but she threatened suicide, insisting the father would return. Defying everyone's judgmental whispers, she kept the child. Dongdong is 3 years old now. In their past life, they also came up tomorrow, but only Zhou Yuting and Dongdong showed up. I later learned it wasn't my mom bringing her here at all. The moment she heard about my wedding, she rushed over with the kid in tow. To be honest, we were never that close, but the kid was so sweet. constantly calling me auntie this and auntie that. Since Gu Zhichuan wanted to remain child-free, I gradually came to treat Dong Dong as my own. I shook my head. What's gone is gone. 4. Just as I thought, the next day, only Zhou Yuting and Dong Dong showed up. As soon as I opened the door, I saw her gaze sweep past me, searching behind me. Where's brother-in-law? Isn't he home? Zhou Yuting brushed past me, dragging Dong Dong inside uninvited. At work, I replied flatly. Zhou Yuting dropped her bags and immediately pushed open the door. Sis, which room's mine? This one. It was the master bedroom door she'd opened. That's your brother-in-law's room. She scoffed and turned to the guest room instead. So I'm staying here then. She unceremoniously tossed her bundle onto the bed and flopped down in a starfish position. Wow, this new bed is so comfy. She paused mid-sentence and added regretfully. But I actually preferred the last room, the windows were huge. Before I could respond, Dong Dong tugged at my sleeve. Auntie, I'm hungry. Zhou Yuting didn't even glance at the child after hearing this. Go ask your aunt if you're hungry, she snapped. I need to rest. As if certain I'd take care of the kid, Zhou Yuting didn't even change her clothes before burrowing into my blanket and immediately dozing off. I frowned, about to tell her to get up, when Dong Dong gave my sleeve several urgent tugs. Suddenly, I lost all motivation. I gave him 2 leftover steamed buns from breakfast and headed out. 5. With my documents ready, I went to the dormitory just a block away and checked in. In my past life, Zhou Yuting lived with us for 3 years before moving out. This time, I'm curious to see if she'll still try every trick to stay, now that I've already secured a dorm room. With a sneer, I went to buy a few more books, then picked up some meat and vegetables on my way home, before I even opened the door. I could hear laughter and cheerful voices inside. Brother-in-law, look, this is me and my sister when we were kids. Wasn't my sister super ugly back then? Let me tell you, folks in our village all said if she'd kept studying, she'd never have been our hometown's first college graduate. If only my mom would let me study, otherwise. I scoffed coldly and pushed the door open. Inside, Zhou Yuting and Gu Zhichuan were standing uncomfortably close. Gu held Dong Dong, who was munching on beef jerky, while Zhou nearly threw herself onto him, carrying groceries. I walked in and said, it's not that mom won't let you study, you've never ranked above 47th in a class of 50, and you dropped out of middle school to hang with street gangs, can't even tell who the baby's father is. With that kind of track record, do you really think you'd stand a chance at passing the high school entrance exams? Zhou Yuting's face drained of color as my words hit her. Gu Zhichuan set Dong Dong down and stared at me in confusion. I'd always kept these family skeletons locked away to preserve my image in Gu Zhichuan's eyes. He once asked me why my sister was raising a child all by herself. Before I could answer, my mother hesitantly mentioned that her husband had passed away. Since Gu Zhichuan didn't live in our area, he naturally assumed my sister was widowed. He even sighed to me about how pitiable Zhou Yuting was, having married and had children so young. I must have been blind. Looking back now, that sigh of his was probably about my mom all along. Since she wasn't his biological child, he sent his real daughter to college while pushing his stepdaughter into early marriage. Was that what he pitted? Now that I've revealed the truth, Zhou Yuting is utterly humiliated. Even Gu Zhichuan was looking at me with confusion. Didn't Yuting say your mother made her marry early just so you could continue your studies? Before Gu Zhichuan could finish, Zhou Yuting hastily cut him off. Watching their expressions shift, the corners of my mouth curled up. Oh Zhou Yuting, I'd love to see if Gu Zhichuan would still pity you after discovering your true colors. Over there, Zhou Yuting was frantically explaining something to Gu Zhichuan. I ignored them both and started washing rice to cook. Gu Zhichuan hurried over to help. He murmured, so I've been wrong about you all along. My chopping hand froze mid-air. Then came a derisive snort. Seems Zhou Yuting really said something behind my back. And this fool actually bought her lies. Otherwise, you wouldn't be feeling guilty about misjudging me now. 7. Before all the dishes were even served, Dong Dong had nearly polished off all the meat. Sis, why did you buy so little meat? There's not even enough for Dong Dong, gotta admit. Zhou Yuting has some thick skin. After I exposed their past, they quickly acted like nothing happened. As soon as she finished speaking, her son Dong Dong nodded eagerly. I frowned in response. No worries, no worries. If it's not enough, I'll take you out for more food later. Gu Zhichuan hastily mediated. I hazily remember it was just like this in my past life. The dishes were all gone before they even reached the table. Dong Dong ate everything. What was I feeling back then? I suppose I was happy. Happy that Dong Dong enjoyed my cooking. he's got quite the appetite, that's great, but now, I just felt disgusted. I picked up my bowl. Guests should know their place, don't you think? I stared straight at Zhou Yuting. She paused, then shot Gu Zhichuan a wounded look. Gu Zhichuan hesitated, unexpectedly not defending her as usual, and instead served me a portion. Eat up. I quietly pushed the food aside with my chopsticks, leaving it untouched. After taking a few bites, I added, I've arranged a dorm for you, stay the night, then head back. This marriage between Gu Zhichuan and me is definitely not happening, since things are falling apart between us. It's inappropriate for Zhou Yuting to keep living here. Of course, if they still choose to mess around after our divorce, that's none of my business, can't be bothered. 8. Zhou Yuting was furious. She couldn't understand why she had to stay in the dorm when visiting her own sister. She sobbed. I know you've never liked me since we were kids, and I know you look down on me now that you're in college. Yes, I embarrassed you, but I was young and foolish back then. Can't you cut me some slack? I'm not leaving, why should I? Zhou Yuting started acting shamelessly. Gu Zhichuan remained silent on the side. In the past, he would have definitely stood up for her, pushing the rice around in my bowl. I said flatly, no amount of crying will change anything. You're staying in the dorm tonight and going back tomorrow. I'll go buy the bus tickets in a bit. Seeing I wasn't joking, Zhou Yuting pouted in displeasure. After dinner, Dong Dong started clinging to me too, saying he didn't want to go back. My indifferent gaze alone made him instinctively release my hand. Children are far more perceptive than we realize. In our past life, he knew how deeply I adored him, so he could freely act spoiled with me. Now he clearly senses my indifference and no longer clings to me like before. I just didn't expect that while I was still figuring out how to send her back. After dinner, Gu Zhichuan came to see me first. It's not safe for your sister to be traveling alone with a child, they should stay at our place instead. When I remained silent, he continued, if you're uncomfortable sharing a room before our wedding, you can take my bedroom and I'll stay at the dorm. Alright. I looked at the man before me, feeling a pang of sadness in my heart. I knew Zhou Yuting must have approached him secretly after failing to persuade me. My mind drifted back to my past life. Once, Zhou Yuting and I took the kids shopping for clothes, but we both fell for the same outfit. Without hesitation, he said, let Yuting have it if she likes it. She's your younger sister, you should give way to her. As if being the elder sister automatically made me the guilty party. In the end, Zhou Yuting stayed living with us. I was still staying in Gu Zhichuan's place. I glanced at the dormitory receipt in my pocket, scoffed, tore it up, and tossed it in the trash. 12. The next morning, as if sensing my displeasure, Gu Zhichuan made breakfast early before heading to work. Zhou Yuting seemed afraid I'd kick her out. She stayed holed up in her room all day, only emerging when Gu Zhichuan returned from work, ignoring them both. I finished my meal and retreated to my room to start packing. Outside, Dong Dong was bouncing around the living room, either shouting loudly or demanding Gu Zhichuan play with him. Gu Zhichuan patiently humored him. I listened irritably to the commotion outside, struggling to keep my composure. While packing my things, I heard a knock at the door. Opening the door, I saw Gu Zhichuan standing outside. Yajun, I've finished writing all the invitations, about your family. Gu Zhichuan's words trailed off as he noticed the packed luggage behind me. Why are you packing your things? Before I could respond, Zhou Yuting approached with red-rimmed eyes. Sis, do you really dislike me that much? If you insist on me leaving, then I'll go. I know you're ashamed of me bringing Dong Dong along and embarrassing you. Do you think that was my choice? I was just a kid back then, tricked by that man. It's been torture for me too. Do you have any idea how people look at us? Are you trying to drive me and my child to our graves? Zhou Yuting wiped her tears and dashed out, dragging Dong Dong along. I saw Gu Zhichuan instinctively about to chase after them. Gu Zhichuan, I called out. He halted mid-step and turned to look at me. If you go after her, we're getting a divorce, I said calmly. 13. He stared at me in disbelief. Yajun, what did you just say? I repeated my words. Gu Zhichuan shook his head incredulously. She's your sister. Didn't you hear her say she'll kill herself? I shrugged. Then go die. Gu Zhichuan shook his head in disbelief. Even if you dislike your sister, what about Dong Dong? Didn't you love Dong Dong the most before? Gu Zhichuan paused. You once told me Dong Dong was adorable, that you'd even be willing to raise her if your sister let you. Have you forgotten all this? Of course I haven't forgotten, it's etched in my memory. How could I ever forget how my genuine love was betrayed in our past life? I said again. Gu Zhichuan, When Zhou Yuting told you my mother treated her poorly, you believed her. When I told you to ignore her, do you know why? Gu Zhichuan's lips parted as if to speak, but I raised my hand to stop him. Because she likes you, because she couldn't resist approaching you, even knowing you're her sister's husband. What about you? I think, in our past life, whatever reason Gu Zhichuan had for being with Zhou Yuting, but in this lifetime, none of that has happened yet. Well then, I'd like to see how you'd handle this, Gu Zhichuan. Just as I expected, the first thing I noticed was him instinctively avoiding eye contact. I see now. So he knew Zhou Yuting's feelings all along. They might have even had something going on behind my back. Just me, naively believing this man was oblivious to Zhou Yuting's feelings. Only because she's my sister did I care for her and look after her so attentively. At this moment, my heart died. In my past life, I never found answers and remained confused. Now everything has become clear. Gu Zhichuan first avoided my gaze, seemingly gathering his thoughts before saying, Yajun, what kind of nonsense are you talking about? Yuting is your sister. You know perfectly well what a woman's reputation means. You'd better think this through. Gu Zhichuan grabbed his coat and ran after her. I stared at the closed door before resuming packing my belongings. The next morning, I arrived punctually at the research institute with my luggage. 14. Our professor didn't take this outdoor archaeology project seriously at first, but after a day and night of bumpy travel, when we finally arrived on site, he realized the gravity of the situation. He speculated this burial complex must be far more extensive than what's currently uncovered. We quickly got down to work, exhausted from the day's labor. We fell asleep immediately that night, only to be startled awake by strange noises outside the tent around midnight. When we tried to investigate, the male classmates keeping watch stopped us from leaving the tent. He told us to stay inside. I spent that entire night on edge, my nerves frayed. The next morning, we learned someone had broken into the tomb under cover of darkness. There were 3 intruders, 1 got away, but the other 2 were apprehended. Before long, I saw police officers arrive to take them away. Armed police stood guard there every day after that. Gradually, I grew accustomed to the work here. 6 months later, the excavation work at this site came to a temporary halt. We had to hire local farmers for assistance at multiple sites, as the burial complex was simply too vast. The current phase of excavation work can now be concluded. The professor asked if I wanted to come along for the return trip. After a moment's thought, I nodded in agreement. It's time to settle things between Gu Zhichuan and me. 15. 6 months ago when I left, I told Gu Zhichuan about this trip to northern Shaanxi with my professor. Without knowing our exact location, he naturally couldn't reach me. I never wrote him any letters either. On the ride back, I was dozing off, thinking about my relationship with Gu Zhichuan, brooding over the resentment of being deceived in my past life, planning my next moves. The bus jolted along, leaving me dizzy and lightheaded. It wasn't until we arrived that I realized I was probably running a fever. When I got back to the apartment, no one was home. Out of habit, I pushed open my bedroom door only to find Gu Zhichuan's belongings everywhere. Suddenly I remembered what Zhou Yuting had said that day, but I prefer the other room we saw earlier. It has bigger windows. Could it be that Zhou Yuting never actually left during these past 6 months? It seemed to confirm my suspicions. When I pushed open the door to Gu Zhichuan's former room, I found the curtains had been replaced with pink ones at some point. The bedding now had powder blue covers, and the room was filled with new toys. Snacks were spread across the table too. Apparently, Gu Zhichuan knew Zhou Yuting loved this room, so he even vacated it for her. I smirked sarcastically, sat in the living room waiting for their return. 16. Brother-in-law. Sorry for the trouble, making you wait for me again. It's not safe for a girl to come home this late after work. I really appreciate you finding me this job. You wouldn't believe how many people envy me working at the state-run restaurant. Zhou Yuting noticed Gu Zhichuan hadn't entered and instinctively looked up, only to see me watching them with a detached expression. Sis, you're back. Zhou Yuting stole a glance at Gu Zhichuan before murmuring hesitantly. Gu Zhichuan seemed to finally snap out of it, his face lighting up as he stepped inside. Yajun, you're back. I'll let you 2 talk. I need to pick up Dong Dong. Zhou Yuting turned away, hesitated for a brief moment, then walked out. Sit, I said coolly, watching him. The smile faded from Gu Zhichuan's face as we sat there in silence. The luggage I brought back still sits by my feet. As Gu Zhichuan was about to speak, I cut him off. Let's call off our engagement, Zhichuan. He sprang to his feet. What did you just say? I stood up too, our engagement, it's over. I was about to leave with my luggage when he stopped me, his eyes filled with confusion. Why are you suddenly calling it off? He seemed utterly bewildered. Why do you want to break off the engagement the moment you return? Have you fallen for someone else? After speaking, Gu Zhichuan's eyes reddened at the corners, as if he'd been publicly humiliated by infidelity. I let out a sigh, gazing at this man I once truly loved in my past life. Stripped of love's halo, he's just ordinary after all, utterly average, 2 eyes and a mouth like anyone else. I didn't want to drag this out, so I decided to lay all my cards on the table. Gu Zhichuan, what were you thinking keeping Zhou Yuting after I left? Gu Zhichuan looked puzzled at first, then suddenly had an epiphany as if a great weight had been lifted off his shoulders. So you said all that because of Yuting? As Gu Zhichuan spoke, he reached for my hand, but I dodged his touch. He sighed and gazed at me with indulgent affection, as though I were some petulant woman throwing a tantrum. Yuting, she's your sister. If you leave, she'll have nowhere to go. This is the only place she can stay. He paused. Are you mad at me? Mad that I didn't come home the night before you left? That's because she ran off that day. I spent half the night looking for her. She was too scared to come back, afraid you'd scold her. That's why Uncle. Dongdong's voice rang from the doorway. The moment he appeared, he shot like a rocket into Gu Zhichuan's arms. Gu Zhichuan effortlessly scooped the child up, even delighting Dongdong by lifting him high in the air. Zhou Yuting watched them with sparkling eyes before turning her gaze back to me. Sis, I brought groceries. Don't expect gourmet cooking though, Zhou Yuting said with a faint smile before heading straight to the kitchen, clearly familiar with the place. The corner of my mouth twitched. Her words were clearly marking me as the guest here. I couldn't be bothered with her and walked out with my luggage. Yajun. Gu Zhichuan only caught up when I reached the doorway. He grabbed my suitcase with a death grip. Yajun, where are you going? We've finished our discussion, so I'm heading back to the dorm. The professor said we're going to Beijing in a few days and asked me to bring the materials along. He knows I want to apply for graduate school in Beijing. The reason he's taking me to the capital is to introduce me to an old classmate of his who's based there. Lost in thought, I didn't notice Gu Zhichuan suddenly yanking at the luggage. I won't let you leave. Caught off guard, I stumbled and fell to the ground. I was already running a fever, and after that fall, when I tried to get up, the room kept spinning. Yajun. Gu Zhichuan reached out to steady me, but I dodged his hand, gripping the doorframe to stand. I said, I don't want to fight. You know it's over between us. Gu Zhichuan shook his head. I waited half a year for you, and you vanished without a word for half a year. I haven't blamed you once, and the first thing you do after coming back is call off our engagement. Zhou Yajun, have you no heart at all? As the words hung in the air, Gu Zhichuan stormed in and slammed the door shut. I shook my head and slowly made my way downstairs, steadying myself against the wall. 17. After dropping my luggage at the dorm, I finally went to the clinic to get some medication. Then I drifted in and out of sleep until noon the next day, waking up to find my fever had broken. I finally felt relieved. Just as I was about to grab some food, I opened the door and saw Gu Zhichuan standing there. His eyes were bloodshot, looking like he hadn't slept all night. I took 2 steps back to let him in. For a moment, we just stood there in silence. After what felt like an eternity, he let out a bitter laugh. Yajun, I never thought you'd leave me. I gave him a cool glance without speaking. Yajun, I know you're bothered by your sister, but I never realized how much, he said with a bitter smile. I've already talked to her. I'll find her a place and have her move out. She won't stay here any longer. Gu Zhichuan looked at me as if he'd made some monumental decision on my behalf. Memories of my past life surfaced. She lived with us for 3 years as well. Eventually I couldn't stand her wearing my clothes and barging into my room unannounced. It was Gu Zhichuan who noticed my displeasure, and only then did Zhou Yuting move out. Little did I know, in the previous life, when Zhou Yuting moved out, it was Gu Zhichuan who rented the apartment for her. He even financially supported her. I glared at Gu Zhichuan. Trying to have your cake and eat it too. 18. Gu Zhichuan's eyes widened. What did you just say? I scoffed. So you want her to move out, but still expect to rent her a nice place. For how long? A month? A year? Or maybe her whole damn life? I watched Gu Zhichuan's face gradually pale. I mercilessly exposed his hypocrisy again. You claim to want a child-free life, yet you dote on Zhou Yuting's kid like it's your own flesh and blood. You're proposing to me while renting a place to keep her. Gu Zhichuan, how dare you want to have your cake and eat it too? With that pathetic paycheck barely bigger than mine, or with that disgusting fantasy of having both sisters. Gu Zhichuan tried to argue back, but I shut him up with a slap. Consider that slap payback for what he owed me in a past life. I flung the door open. Get out, Yejun. Gu Zhichuan remained seated, still trying to explain. I sneered with undisguised disgust. Gu Zhichuan, you make me sick. Gu Zhichuan paled slightly. Did you just call me disgusting? The only reason I look after Yuting is because she's your sister. If Yuting weren't your sister, why would I bother treating her so well? Gu Zhichuan's expression softened as he finished speaking. Yejun, I couldn't stand listening to him anymore, so I slammed the door and stormed out of the dorm. It wasn't until I'd walked 2 blocks that the knot in my chest finally began to loosen. If Gu Zhichuan had actually admitted to being fickle and having feelings for Zhou Yuting, I might have respected him more. At least that would have shown some backbone. He had the nerve to claim it was for my own good while fooling around with Zhou Yuting. What a disgusting hypocrite. That made me, who originally wanted nothing to do with them, suddenly decide they shouldn't get off so easily. 19. After dinner, I deliberately avoided the street corner on my way back to the dorm. The aunties who'd finished dinner early and were chatting at the corner spotted me and swarmed over, asking why they hadn't seen me around lately. I wiped the corner of my eye and said I'd been away for quite some time. The aunties' expressions changed instantly. One stepped closer, eyeing me seriously. You say you haven't been around lately. I nodded. So the girl staying at your place these days is really your sister? I looked up, hesitated for a moment, then nodded. Xiao Zhou. You'd better tell the truth. She is your real sister, isn't she? Don't you dare fool us. Another middle-aged woman nodded in agreement. I've seen Dr. Gu and her together all the time lately. If she's not your blood sister, this is serious trouble. I quickly explained. Yes, she's my stepsister. Doesn't that count as family? I looked up at everyone with questioning eyes. After a brief silence, someone asked me, why aren't you at home? Where are you heading? I paused. Tears welling up again. There's no room at home, so I'm staying in the dorm for now. After speaking, I glanced at them hesitantly before covering my mouth and running off. Someone was still calling after me. I dashed back to the dorm in one breath and chugged a whole kettle of water. Humph, Gu Zhichuan, you actually think you can have your cake and eat it too in this lifetime? Just you wait. 20. That very evening, Gu Zhichuan came by again. The moment he saw me, he gave me this complicated look. What's the matter? I frowned. Yejun, I told you there's nothing between me and Yuting. What exactly have you been saying about us outside? Gu Zhichuan paused before continuing. Before I could respond, he added hastily, someone caused a scene at the restaurant, calling her a homewrecker who drove away her own sister. The hospital administration spoke to me about this. Yejun. Gu Zhichuan gave me a disapproving look. Even if Yuting isn't your biological sister, you grew up together. You wouldn't actually want her to lose her job, would you? So what do you propose? I asked curiously. Gu Zhichuan's eyes lit up. Yejun, go talk to the restaurant staff. Just explain it was all a misunderstanding. He produced another ring and said, we're getting married soon. Look, this is the ring I bought for you. Yejun, come home with me. The dorm can't compare to our own place. I know you're uncomfortable about Yuting. I can ask her to leave. I also know you might have reservations about me not wanting children, but that's fine. If you want kids, we can have one, or, if you'd like to take Yuting's child in, that's fine too. Don't worry, I'll treat them as my own. Get out, I've had enough. 21. On the third day, I went to the state-run restaurant. Zhou Yuting thought I'd come to plead for her, and came trotting over to grab my hand. Sis, did my brother-in-law send you? Ugh. That's just like him. I told him not to worry. But he just wouldn't listen. Whack. Zhou Yuting stood there stunned from the slap. Even the manager jumped in surprise. I glared at Zhou Yuting. You knew perfectly well Gu Zhichuan and I are getting married. I offered you the dorm, but you refused. I stormed off for 6 months over this. And when I come back, you've even taken over my room. What? Can't live without a man, or does stolen love taste sweeter? The moment I finished speaking, the room erupted in murmurs. Zhou Yuting covered her flushed face. That's not true. You're slandering me. I won't indulge her nonsense. You actually convinced your brother-in-law to remain childless just so we'd adopt your out-of-wedlock baby. Zhou Yuting, you've really outdone yourself this time. The crowd erupted in shocked murmurs once again. No matter how Zhou Yuting tried to explain herself, nobody believed a word she said. Of course I knew Gu Zhichuan's decision to be child-free was entirely his own choice, But that didn't stop me from pinning the blame squarely on Zhou Yuting, 22. After this incident, Zhou Yuting couldn't possibly stay here any longer. She packed her things dejectedly, ready to leave. I followed her back. The moment she saw me, she flew into a rage. What have I ever done to you? Why must you make my life miserable? Why, you know perfectly well it was Brother Gu's decision not to have children. How dare you blame me for it? I'm your own sister. How could you be so cruel? Zhou Yuting glared at me with bloodshot eyes, her gaze burning with fury. I looked at her calmly. That's right, I am your sister. What grudge do you hold against me to steal my man? Zhou Yuting's lips trembled slightly before she turned to leave without another word. Wait a second, she turned around. What else do you want? Fine, I admit I was wrong. I'll leave, okay. What more could you possibly want? Zhou Yuting threw down her luggage and screamed hysterically. I gave her a cool glance before asking, so you're just going to walk away like this? She froze. What do you mean? I sat down leisurely. You came here for Gu Zhichuan, didn't you? Are you really willing to leave just like that? She stared at me in silence. I grabbed my bag and stood before her. If I were you, I'd never leave so easily. I'll make a scene, accuse him of having improper intentions, claim we've already been intimate. After all, if I let such a good man slip away, finding another like him would be nearly impossible, don't you think? Zhou Yuting gave me an inscrutable look after hearing my words. Her head drooped. 23. After spending a night back at the dorm, I left for the capital with my professor the next day. 24. From then on, all the messy business here became a distant memory. Side story, Gu Zhichuan. I first met Yajun at a friend's gathering. It was love at first sight. Later, through a mutual friend's introduction, we officially got to know each other. I never imagined that Yajun and I would ever part ways in this lifetime. The problems between us probably started after we made our relationship official and I met her family. Her mother brought her younger sister over several times to discuss our wedding plans. That's when I found out her sister wasn't actually her biological sibling, but she's quite adorable. Even after having a child, she still seems so innocent and pure. Turns out Yuting couldn't continue her education simply because her family could only afford to send one child to school, though I only found out later that all of this was Zhou Yuting's fabrication. That child of hers doesn't even know who the father is. After Yajun left, she caused a scene at the hospital where I worked, claiming we'd already been intimate as husband and wife. Furious, I spent ages trying to explain, but the hospital still sent me home to sort things out, clearly hinting I should resolve my domestic issues first. Back home, I confronted Zhou Yuting about why she'd slandered me. There was absolutely nothing between us. The sweet little sister I knew suddenly bared her fangs for the first time. She snapped, "Stop pretending. If you weren't interested in me, why would you let us live together alone? Why else would you rent an apartment for me unless you had ulterior motives?" Later she threatened, "Marry me or I'll report you." I hesitated. The only reason we barely kept our jobs was my overseas education background. I shook my head at the woman before me, once charming, now consumed by greed. Only then did I realize how wrong I'd been. Some people and things are better left untouched. I wanted to beg Yajun for forgiveness, but when I reached the dorm, I found she'd already left. Last time, at least I knew where she'd gone. This time, she vanished completely from my life. After dragging things out with Zhou Yuting for over half a month, I finally had to concede defeat. I had no choice but to marry her. Otherwise, I'd have no future. How could my wife possibly be a woman who slept with men at 14 or 15, even bearing an illegitimate child? But, I realized, this bitterness, I had to swallow it, even if it made me gag. Years later, after 7 or 8 years of marriage, she still hadn't conceived. That's when I realized she'd become infertile after giving birth to Dongdong due to physical complications. I felt utterly defeated. When I didn't want children myself, it didn't matter. But the thought of her promiscuity causing our infertility was absolutely unacceptable. After that, we started sleeping separately. I couldn't bear having such a filthy body lying beside me day and night. Dongdong grew up, and I paid for his wedding and starting a family. A child not of your own blood will never truly be yours. Things were fine before marriage, but he moved out with his wife right after the wedding. Months would pass without even a phone call. Even when I was hospitalized, he just dropped by briefly and left. That's when I finally realized what kind of person I'd been raising all these years. Years later, at my mother-in-law's 70th birthday, I finally saw Yajun again. She looked almost unchanged. Her jet black hair remained straight, her complexion rosy. She looked scarcely different from 2 or 3 decades prior. in my past life, I abandoned my beloved archaeology career just to stay by his side. Yajun, who once promised me we'd be child-free together, now has a son and a daughter. Her husband seems to treat her well. She saw me, nodded, her eyes devoid of any emotion. My eyes welled up with tears. Yajun, I regret it. My whole life, it shouldn't be like this. The end. Story 2. Pei Chei's childhood sweetheart is dying. I was lying on the operating table when I heard the news. Pei Chei threw down the scalpel and said to his colleague, "Please take care of my wife's surgery." With that said, he turned and walked away, watching Pei Chei's retreating figure. I couldn't hold back as tears streamed down my face. The next second, the cold scalpel instantly pressed against my skin. His colleague spoke indifferently. "What are you crying for? With me here, you won't die." 1. Slap. Pei Chei wordlessly threw down the scalpel, tossed the gloves into the trash bin. "I can't perform this surgery, get Su Nanqing to come." It was the 20th minute after Lu Yun's accident when my usually composed husband finally showed a crack in his demeanor. He urgently called off my surgery and began turning his back to everyone, pretending to calmly remove his equipment, yet his slightly trembling hands betrayed him. Lu Yun was in trouble, and he was worried sick. He wished he could fly to her side the very next second. "Professor Pei, your wife's heart rate is very fast, she's extremely nervous. Are you sure you want to leave at this moment?" A dull ache spread through my chest. I calmly told the nurse, "It's fine. Any doctor can perform the surgery." Everyone in the operating room looked at me with pity in their eyes. I just smiled. The day Lu Yun returned, I knew my marriage with Pei Chei had come to an end. To make Pei Chei abandon the dying Lu Yun and perform surgery on me, he couldn't accept it, nor was I willing to entrust my life to such a person. The operating room door slid open silently. A tall figure wearing a mask walked in. It was Pei Chei's colleague, Su Nanqing. As their figures crossed paths, Pei Chei said, "Nanxia surgery. I'll leave it in your hands. If I don't go now, I might regret it for the rest of my life." Listening to his words, my tears silently streamed down. How embarrassing. Nan Xiao, it's just being abandoned once again. Why did I start crying? A sudden shadow fell before my eyes. The cold blade of a scalpel pressed against my skin. The usually aloof and taciturn Dr. Su spoke calmly. "Why cry? With me here, you won't die." 2. The surgery lasted 2 hours. By the time it was over, evening had already fallen. Heavy rain began falling outside the window. Su Nanqing stayed by my side until confirming my condition was stable before leaving. When Pei Chei's call came through, my anesthesia had just worn off, and I was drenched in cold sweat from the pain. Answering the phone, a lively and charming female voice came through. "Sorry, sis-in-law, I don't know how." His friend relayed the message. "It's just a minor scrape." But Pei Chei rushed over without considering the severity. "I've already scolded him for it." Then, her coquettish voice came through the phone. "You're already in your 30s, yet still so impulsive. Did you think this was back when we were dating? There's 1 cup of milk tea left. Take it to your sister-in-law as an apology." A rustling sound came from across, as if Pei Chei had snatched the phone away. "How many times have I told you? Stay put if you don't want your wound to fester. She just had surgery, she can't drink milk tea. These were all bought for you." The conversation on the other end was peaceful. Only Pei Chei's brother felt extremely wronged. "I just mentioned you were in a car accident, and he got so anxious he hung up the phone." "What does that have to do with me? Keep your lovey-dovey stuff to yourselves. Don't drag me into it." I suddenly felt nauseous from the pain of the wound. My chest ached from the pressure. The request for Pei Chei to prescribe painkillers died on my lips. I hung up the phone without a word. The nurse pushed the door open, handed me a pill, and said with a smile, "Here, this is the painkiller prescribed by Dr. Su, take it and get some rest early." 3. Since I still had to work, I was discharged after just 3 days in the hospital. Pei Chei's car was parked right outside when I stepped out of the hospital. Out of habit, I opened the passenger door. A faint gasp was heard. Only then did I notice Lu Yun pulling her leaning figure back from the driver's seat. Her disheveled collar, combined with that slightly provocative gaze, left me frozen in place. "Sis-in-law, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." She looked like she was about to cry from anxiety. Pei Chei removed the strand of hair tangled around his wristwatch, cold with a hint of reprimand. "What nonsense are you talking about? Don't let your sister-in-law misunderstand." After speaking, Pei Chei explained to me. Her hair got tangled in my watch when she picked something up. I knew Pei Chei wasn't lying to me. He has always been open and aboveboard. Before marriage, Pei Chen clearly told me, I've had a past relationship, but after marriage, I will remain loyal to you. But sometimes, this boundary can become blurred, becoming a breeding ground for ambiguity. For example, right now, suppressing the bitterness in my heart, I said, Pei-Che, let's talk, I don't want anyone else present. Perhaps my emotions made Lu Yun feel uneasy. Biting her lip, she said, Pei-Che, I should just take a taxi back, sister-in-law seems angry. Pei-Chen remained calm and composed. Can you walk on your own legs? Lu Yun's face turned pale as she forced a smile. I'll try my best, but she didn't get up immediately, instead sitting there waiting. Even Pei-Chen turned to look at me. His eyes were calm and profound, no different than usual. Yet somehow I knew Pei-Che wanted me to say something. Preferably something refined and proper, but I didn't want to endure such unfair treatment. I stepped aside from the doorway and said to Lu Yun, get out. There are plenty of taxis at the intersection. Lu Yun froze, then walked away with reddened eyes. I sat down in the seat she had occupied. The atmosphere in the car was suffocating. After a long pause, Pei-Che finally spoke gently. There's no need to take your anger out on her because of my departure, you know. The emergency department called. It was just a routine consultation. I would have left for anyone in that situation. I don't have the energy to dwell on what was really going through his mind at that moment. I just feel so exhausted. Pei-Che, let's get a divorce. Pei-Che slammed on the brakes, sending items tumbling across the car floor. He slightly furrowed his brows. Nan Qiao, why must you do this? Is it all because of Lu Yun? I endured the dull pain from the knife wound and said, yes. It's all because of Lu Yun. A sudden cry of pain abruptly came from outside the window at this moment, accompanied by the honking of cars. Lu Yun fell at the street intersection, the most conspicuous spot, clearly visible from here at a glance. Gazing at the surging crowd outside the car window, I smiled sarcastically. Your Lu Yun has fallen. Aren't you going to check on her? Pei-Che exuded an icy aura as he restarted the car. You're about to divorce me. How could I possibly care about an outsider right now? The atmosphere froze solid during the drive home. When we arrived, Tuanzi proactively rubbed against us, meowing at both of us. This was the cat Pei-Che gave me the year we got married. Normally when sleeping, Tuanzi likes to sleep between him and me. Pei-Che stared at Tuanzi for a while before bending down to pick him up, saying helplessly, Tuanzi, Mom and Dad had a fight. Can you ask Mom to forgive Dad, okay? Tuanzi meowed understandingly and looked at me. This is how Pei-Che comforts me after every argument. He knows my heart softens whenever I see dumplings, but this time, I pressed my lips together and stayed silent. Pei-Che lowered his head first. Did you take the painkillers Su Nanqing prescribed for you on time? Was it you who told him to open it? Pei-Chen raised a delicate eyebrow. Otherwise, did you think I didn't want you anymore? Pei-Chen leaned in to kiss me, his slender hands cradling my cheeks, his cool fingertips sending shivers. Nan Qiao, I'm not so foolish as to destroy our marriage. As my mind wandered, his gentle whisper reached my ears. Be good, let's not get divorced. Okay, no, not good at all. 5. If Lu Yun had returned 3 years ago, I wouldn't have minded. After all, Pei-Che and I met through a blind date. A scholarly family matched with a medical family, a well-matched marriage, yet the emotions were faint. I work as a teacher at a university, Pei-Che is busy with work, and in the first year of our marriage, the number of times we went on dates could be counted on one hand. I don't remember when I fell in love with Pei-Che. Perhaps familiarity breeds fondness. Perhaps it was the rainy night when I got into a car accident and was viciously insulted by the perpetrator. That Pei-Che came rushing through the rain, a dignified medical professor, who got into a physical altercation with the perpetrator for my sake. With injuries on his face, he wiped away my tears, his tone both helpless and doting. What are you crying for, Jojo? You can always rely on me. Yet this reliable man appeared in Lu Yun's social media just 3 days after I was discharged from the hospital. That day I had just finished class and was standing in the office getting water. Opening the social feed, Lu Yun's post unexpectedly appeared before my eyes. She had fresh bandages wrapped around her knee. Caption: The price of abandoning me halfway was having the great professor personally come to change my dressings. After a while, she deleted the post. Resent a message. Got scolded. Next time I'll stay put and wait for you to come back. Added a cute selfie, simply gentle, with slightly swollen lips, just like a kitten being comforted after enduring grievances. In the corner of the photo was the wristwatch Pei-Che had taken off. My hand trembled slightly as I set down the cup. It wasn't until a colleague nearby called me that I snapped out of the indescribable nausea. I recognized the table in the corner of the photo. It's Pei-Chei's parents' house. He brought Lu-Yun home. My parents always said I had a strong vengeful streak. When bitten by a dog as a child, I had to bite it back. Things have gone this far, I have no reason to endure it anymore. I decisively gave Lu-Yun a like, commented below, "Nice watch." Then I set my phone to silent mode. After finishing the lecture for students, it was already approaching noon. When I opened my phone, I found Pei-Chei had called me 7 or 8 times, and Lu-Yun had called 3 times. The social media post had already been deleted. Pei-Chei's call came through again. His tone was helpless. "Nan Xiao, why aren't you answering the phone? It's Monday today, I have classes to teach." He choked up for a moment, only then remembering I never answer calls during lectures. In those silent seconds, I thought he was considering how to explain it to me, but speaking first would only make it seem more suspicious. I just waited quietly. Soon, Lu-Yun's sobbing could be heard. "I'm sorry, sis-in-law. It's been a long time since I've seen uncle and auntie, so I came to visit them today. Pei-Chei happened to be here too, so he helped change my dressing. Please don't argue with him over this." I laughed. "Which eye of yours saw me arguing with him? Being this guilty, you wouldn't have done something shady, would you, Nan Xiao?" Pei-Chei spoke calmly, reminding me, "Mom and Dad are nearby, mind your manners." Lu-Yun just posted to express gratitude to friends. She didn't do anything wrong and shouldn't have to endure your questioning, perhaps because I remained silent for too long. Pei-Chei grew somewhat restless. "When do you finish work?" "I'll pick you up to come home for dumplings. Mom made them herself." Feeling a tightness in my chest, I took a deep breath and said with a smile, "Pei-Chei, in that house, it's either her or me." What answered me was a long stretch of silence. I didn't know Lu-Yun had put the call on speakerphone. My voice echoed through the living room. The whole family heard it. Pei-Chei's patience ran out, and he coldly tossed out, "Fine, suit yourself." Was the first to hang up the phone. 6. This should be the first Cold War between Pei-Chei and me in 3 years of marriage, neither too early nor too late. Right when Lu-Yun's play Reunion Lovers was released, the teachers in the office couldn't stop praising this play. I heard it's about reuniting with an ex, quite touching. Many people got back together with their ex after watching it. I blocked out all the gossip and went to Pei-Chei's hospital carrying an honorary banner. "Taken by Su Nanqing, Pei-Chei isn't here. Maybe you could give it to him personally another day." He wore a light blue mask, his skin pale and cool, hands tucked in the pockets of his white coat, aloof as ever. I smiled and said, "This is for you. Thank you for performing the surgery on me last time." Su Nanqing studied me with those pale eyes of his. Without saying much, he hung the silk banner on the wall. I asked him again, "Dr. Su, I'll come back to you for the suture removal, right, since your Pei-Chei is busy? You came to me instead." Pei-Chei definitely doesn't have time. During this period of Cold War, he moved back to the Pei family home. The number of house calls increased from twice a week to 4 times a week, yet never contacts me. Probably wants me to take the initiative and visit him at the hospital, but I never went even once. Instead, I chose times when he wasn't there and had Su Nanqing take over my follow-up appointments. Half a month later, Pei-Chen couldn't take it anymore and called me. "Why do you keep looking for Su Nanqing? Follow-up consultation. Monday through Thursday are my consultation hours, yet you specifically choose weekends to see him for follow-ups." I smiled. "What's gotten into you today? So angry?" "I have classes to teach from Monday to Thursday. When would I have the time?" Pei-Chei's voice was icy. "Nan Xiao, do you realize what you're doing? Some people are just like that. When they themselves waver in a relationship, they become overly suspicious. Assuming their partner would do the same, I kindly discussed with him, how about rescheduling your consultation hours to weekends?" Pei-Chen fell silent. Lu-Yun's theatrical performance was scheduled for the weekend. He couldn't bear to part with it. I hung up the phone and looked up to meet Su Nanqing's calm and desolate gaze. I froze slightly. "What's wrong?" Su Nanqing lowered his eyes, his slender fingers gently brushing over my medical records. "Nan Xiao, you've been prescribed sleeping pills 3 times this week. I can't give you any more. It's okay, you can still fall asleep when drunk. Thank you for these past few days." Su Nanqing stared at my forced smile and suddenly asked, "Do you want to drink together tonight?" "What?" He took off the rubber gloves and stood up. "Department gathering. Pei-Chei will probably be there too, so that's how it is. As a doctor's family member, it's perfectly normal for me to appear at their gatherings." So I agreed and went happily. Coincidentally, Pei was usually present, but he didn't come tonight. Seeing that I came in vain, his colleagues all looked at me with sympathetic eyes. During the meal, they took quite good care of me, whether intentional or not. The wine Su Nanqing placed by my side was mellow and gentle, not at all pungent. Soon, I began to feel a bit dizzy. As it was nearing the end, the work group chat of these colleagues suddenly chimed. Su Nanqing's phone was lit up, placed beside me, so I saw the message. It was Pei standing with his back to the camera, cooking in the kitchen. The photo was withdrawn less than 30 seconds after being sent. Pei explained in the group chat, "Sorry, my wife was just fooling around." Instantly, all eyes at the dining table were fixed on me. The room fell into dead silence. 7. I knew Pei had crossed the line, like a train suspended mid-air, experiencing the thrill without plunging into the abyss. He was merely cooking a meal for the visiting Lu Yun at his parents' home. I cannot question it, otherwise, it would be making unreasonable demands. Honestly, I should have seen this coming, shouldn't I? I've learned to accept such things calmly, and I don't even feel heartache anymore. After the dinner gathering, everyone decided to let Su Nanqing give me a ride home since it was on his way. Before getting in the car, Pei female colleagues came over to comfort me. "Don't overthink it, get some good rest first." I drank quite a bit, numbly thanking everyone. Then I rested my head on the chair and fell asleep. Su Nanqing drove very steadily, so much so that when the car stopped downstairs and he called out to me, I was jolted out of my dream. My phone had somehow slid over to Su Nanqing's side. I instinctively reached to pick it up. My hair got caught on Su Nanqing's wristwatch just like that. The situation is eerily similar to a soap opera. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Sorry, Su Nanqing took off his wristwatch and immediately distanced himself from me, making it easier for me to remove the hair myself. Before I could thank him, the car door was suddenly yanked open from outside. A cold wind rushed in. Pei stood at the door, his voice carrying the calm before the storm. "Nan Xiao, you'd better explain clearly what you're doing." This was probably the first time Pei lost control in front of me. His voice could barely contain the anger. Gripping my wrist tightly, he dragged me out of Su Nanqing's car. Most of my drunkenness faded as I calmly looked at him. "Let me go. I didn't do anything. I saw everything." For the first time, a trace of anger appeared on Professor Pei's usually composed and calm face. I suddenly remembered the almost identical scene on the day I was discharged from the hospital. The corners of my lips curled into a mocking smile. My hair just got caught on his wristwatch. Don't misunderstand. Pei probably remembered that day too. The angry expression froze on his face. 8. Pei's instinctive reaction still disgusted me, because I knew that if he were truly innocent, he would argue with me vehemently after I said those words, saying that his relationship with Lu Yun was completely innocent, and that I was being unreasonable. But Pei didn't. He was flustered, panicked, let go of me, and didn't say a word for a long while. So, the moment Lu Yun approached him, he genuinely considered having a grand reunion with her after their long separation. He even thought about abandoning his responsibilities as a husband, pinning Lu Yun against the seat, and kissing her fiercely. It was my appearance that brought back his shitty conscience as a husband. I turned back calmly and thanked Su Nanqing. "I still have something to say to Pei. Be careful on your way back." Su Nanqing nodded and left. The surroundings were eerily quiet. I ignored Pei and turned to walk toward the stairwell. "Nan Xiao, let's talk." Pei reached out to grab me, but I suddenly turned around and slapped him hard across the face. The sharp sound of the slap echoed through the hallway. Long-suppressed grievances and anger erupted in an instant. I remembered his retreating figure leaving the operating table, remembered the fear and helplessness of being abandoned by my husband. Trembling with rage, I said coldly, "Pei, let the lawyers handle it." Only at this moment did Pei realize I was serious. His gentle demeanor vanished without a trace. He uttered 4 words stiffly. "I disagree, Nan Xiao. Lu Yun and I are completely innocent. If you dislike her, I can cut off all contact with her. Whatever you want, whatever makes you happy, I'll go along with it." How did I become the unreasonable one again? I pulled out the chair and sat down, speaking softly. "Pei, who cares who you like? If I want a divorce, can't it just be because I've had enough of you?" Pei's following words got stuck in his throat. He accused me. "Is it because of Su Nanqing?" I took a sip of water. "Pei, stop being unreasonable. Su Nanqing and I are completely innocent. If you can't stand him, I can cut off contact with him. As long as you happily divorce me, I'll comply with whatever you say." In less than a minute, his own words were thrown back at him. For the first time, I saw a look of utter exasperation on Pei Chei's face, but I'd lost interest in arguing with him. Whatever your relationship with Lu Yun is, that's exactly what mine is with Su Nanqing, pure and blameless, open and aboveboard. We'll talk when you've made up your mind, a sentence dripping with sarcasm, plunging our relationship to freezing point. Pei Chei refused the divorce, leaving us at a stalemate, yet soon enough, he tasted the bitterness of his own actions coming back to haunt him, whether it was when I delivered fruit to Su Nanqing, spoke up for him in Pei Chei's presence, or messaged Su Nanqing during meals due to wound concerns. Pei Chei's long-suppressed emotions finally erupted. He slammed his chopsticks down right in front of me. Nanqiao, what exactly do you want me to do? I've already cut ties with Lu Yun. How much longer are you going to keep this up? On the phone he threw at me were long, pleading messages from Lu Yun. Pei Chei, please talk to me. Are you getting back at me for breaking up with you? I was wrong. Okay, let's just be friends from now on. I'll behave and never disturb your life again. I placed my own phone on the table as well. Lu Yun has ulterior motives toward you. Isn't it natural for you to ignore her? Why should I give up my primary physician just because you rejected her? My chat history with Su Nanqing is completely normal. Follow-up appointment on Saturday. Is the wound still hurting? Much better. Then prepare to remove the stitches. Okay. Pei Chei couldn't find any fault, but as a surgeon, his wife having someone else remove her stitches was the biggest issue. I knew what Pei Chei wanted to say, so I preemptively cut him off. You didn't perform the surgery on me, so don't interfere with the follow-up treatment. I'm the kind of person who believes in staying faithful to the end. 9. Pei Chei was sitting in the living room. He hadn't spoken for a long time, whether it was from sheer anger towards him or not. After eating, my lower abdomen became unbearably swollen and painful. Without hesitation, I grabbed my coat and prepared to head to the hospital. Pei Chei looked up, noticed my pale face, and asked, "What's wrong?" I avoided his touch and opened the ride-hailing app. Seeing my destination set to the hospital, Pei Chei grabbed his jacket. "You won't get a ride this late. Don't be stubborn, I'll drive you." He was telling the truth. As soon as he finished speaking, his phone rang. Lu Yun's name popped up on the screen, perhaps out of survival instinct. I grabbed it and hung up Lu Yun's call. "Pei Chei, I'm not feeling well. Take me to the hospital." Then Lu Yun called again. I answered the phone instantly. "Call one more fucking time and I'll tear you apart with my own hands." After saying that, I hurled the phone violently against the wall. The screen was shattered into pieces. I don't know what's wrong with me. My forehead was covered in fine beads of sweat. Pei Chei no longer hesitated, supporting me as we walked out, passing by the doorway. He bent down to pick up the broken phone. At that moment, the screen lit up. Lu Yun sent a text message. "Chei, if this is your choice, would it be better if I disappeared from this world?" Pei Chei's expression changed instantly. Forgetting what he was supposed to do, he dialed a number, put on his clothes, and rushed out. Forgot to even close the door. The tremendous noise turned on the hallway lights. A neighbor opened their door and looked at me curiously. I couldn't hold on any longer. Kneeling on the ground, "Please take me to the hospital. I didn't know I was pregnant, and about to have a miscarriage." When Su Nanqing arrived, he happened to hear the doctor say, "Do you want to keep the baby? If we don't handle it now, it'll be very difficult to save." Actually, I had a premonition on the way here, and I've already made my decision. "No." Su Nanqing stopped at the doorway. The person who entered was a nurse from their department, a warm-hearted elder sister. Thinking that I had quarreled with Pei Chei, she advised me to calm down while grabbing my phone to call Pei Chei. Matters concerning children should be carefully considered. Where has Pei Chei gone, leaving his wife in such a state without care? In the mindset of their older generation, having children was a joint decision for a couple. I suddenly felt extremely tired. At this moment, I no longer had the strength to resist. The instant the call connected, Lu Yun's voice came through first. Slightly hoarse. "Nanqiao, I'm really sorry for letting you be so pleased with yourself these past few days. Pei Chei is in my bed right now. Did you make him angry? He was really passionate with me just now." The female colleague's expression changed abruptly, and she quickly hung up. When I called back after regaining composure, her phone was already turned off. I've grown accustomed to sympathetic glances, smiling calmly. "Sorry. His infidelity has made me a laughingstock. Perhaps it's for the best. Hospitals are breeding grounds for gossip anyway." Professor Pei, once as clear as a breeze and bright as the moon, has now been exposed to a scandal in public. His days of misfortune are not far away. 10. The abortion procedure took only a very short time. I leaned against the hospital corridor while Su Nanqing discussed the necessary precautions with the doctor. Afterwards, he sat down beside me. Hand me a cup of hot water. I feel the warmth from your palm. Thank you, Dr. Su, there are some things. I took advantage of you. If I've caused you any trouble, I'm sorry. Su Nanqing gazed calmly at the night scene outside the window. There's nothing to apologize for, Nanqiao. I'm not some clueless young man in my early 20s. What? Seeing me staring intently at him, Su Nanqing stood up and casually remarked, "It's nothing. Sister Wang will come later to take you to Pei Chei's lounge." Pei Chei only learned about my pregnancy the next day. I had just stepped out of the lounge when he rushed to the hospital in a hurry. Nanqiao. Pei Chei's voice was urgent as he rushed over and carefully cradled my face in his hands, his eyes revealing unmistakable relief. "We're going to have a baby." He probably doesn't realize he still carries the scent of Lu Yun's perfume on him. I frowned slightly. "Where did you hear that news?" "Sister Wang told me." Sister Wang was the kind-hearted woman who called him last night. Pei Chei's habit of only half listening is probably incurable. Lu Yun appeared behind Pei Chei at some unknown moment. Her sweet smile concealed hidden jealousy and provocation. "Sis-in-law, I heard you're pregnant." Last night Pei Chei even came looking for me, completely out of his mind. She must have thought she was speaking in riddles before everyone. "Feeling great, aren't you?" But she didn't know that her words from last night had spread throughout the hospital overnight. At that moment, several people behind her suddenly realized and started pointing at her with their phones, confirming she was the shameless mistress from the phone call. The atmosphere on site felt somewhat eerie. Lu Yun paused briefly, but didn't dwell on it. I suddenly found it all quite ridiculous. Pei Chei frowned. "Nanqiao, what are you laughing at? Didn't anyone tell you I aborted the child?" Pei Chen's expression stiffened. "What do you mean by that?" Seeing my mocking smile, Pei Chen's face stiffened as he coldly rebuked. "Nanqiao, how dare you make decisions without consulting me? I am your husband." The room suddenly fell into an eerie silence. I couldn't suppress the sarcasm in my voice. "Do you even remember you're my husband? What were you doing last night when I called you?" Pei Chen's eyes darkened. "You called me?" "Yes," Lu Yun answered. "She said you were being very passionate with her in bed and told me not to disturb you." The crowd erupted in gasps. This mistress is really brazen, daring to come to the hospital and flaunt herself before the rightful wife. Pei Chei's entire body froze. My hand trembled as I looked at Lu Yun's horrified expression. Is what she said true? Lu Yun's face turned deathly pale. Only now realizing the strange looks from those around her, she didn't know what went wrong, just shook her head in panic. "She's lying. I didn't, H.A., I didn't." I calmly delivered the final blow. "What she said wasn't just heard by me, your colleagues all heard it too. Pei Chei, your mistress is this brazen. How dare you have the audacity to ask me to keep your child?" 11. Lu Yun broke down completely. She cried uncontrollably. She fled in panic under the judgmental gazes of the crowd. Pei Chei seemed to have lost his senses, standing frozen in place for a long while without reacting. Local news spreads like wildfire. That very afternoon, the gossip traveled from medical circles to theater circles. The group chat was filled with all sorts of vicious remarks. How glorious for Lu Yun to be the other woman, so impressive. Why doesn't she go live and talk about it? During the play, she told everyone she wouldn't add WeChat, acting all high and mighty. Turns out she's just a filthy fly. The next day, when I went to the hospital to get medicine, I ran into Lu Yun with reddened eyes. Lu Yun stopped me, begging for my forgiveness. "Nanqiao, we don't need to make things so difficult between us, right? Just help me clarify things, and I'll leave Pei Chei." "Clarify what? Just pretend I never said those words, okay?" She cried bitterly. "I can't lose my job." I grabbed her hair and said calmly, "Lu Yun, I told you I'd tear you apart, didn't I?" I dragged her to Pei Chei's office. "I'll give you a chance. The evidence is in my hands. You can decide between you whether you lose your job or Pei Chei loses his. But I suggest you sacrifice yourself, firstly because you love him so much, and secondly, if Pei Chen loses his job, are you going to support your dear brother?" That day, separated by a door, I heard Pei Chen's nearly out-of-control roar. My heart as calm as still water. Lu Yun seemed to be crying. "Chen. It's just that my possessiveness is too strong. I just hate that woman. I just don't want her to monopolize you. We're clearly a match made in heaven, so why?" "Enough," Pei Chei said coldly. "You're just the other woman." Lu Yun cried out in disbelief. "Pei Chei, that's not what you said. You clearly love me. Why don't I love my wife, but love you instead? Am I crazy? Hearing Pei Chei's almost mocking words, Lu Yun broke down. Then get a divorce, we'll move away and live together. I can be your wife, forget it, Pei Chei said distantly. You've destroyed everything I had, someone like you, I can't afford to keep. You see, when his interests aren't at stake, his first love is like a white moonlight, a cinnabar mole, but once he lost everything, his first love, the white moonlight and cinnabar mole, all turned into shit. Actually, I was just saying it for fun, I don't want to let either of them go. After Lu Yun left, I walked in and threw the divorce papers in Pei Chei's face. I don't want to move, and I don't want to see you, so don't go back to that house, don't argue with me, I don't want to make this any uglier. Pei Chei sat there, pale-faced, without saying a word. When I got home, I threw all of Pei Chei's belongings out. I sent Lu Yun several boxes of Pei Chei's personal belongings. I even sent her a separate message about it. All yours now, enough for a month, enjoy the passion. Since Lu Yun had acted in theater productions, she had considerable popularity. Her identity had already been dug up by enthusiastic netizens, online discussions were buzzing. Oh, so her reconciliation was actually breaking up someone else's family to be the other woman. I really want to hear the audio of her provoking the original wife. Here's a lead for you at Xiao Yu Loves Life, Sick Edition. The blogger was sick and went to the hospital, and just happened to record the other woman's phone call in the background. I never expected someone actually recorded it. And someone even remixed the audio. He's so passionate about me suddenly spread everywhere. Lu Yun became an instant sensation. Several times, Lu Yun was accidentally caught in street interviews, fleeing in panic through others' lenses, looking utterly disheveled. Many people gathered below the drama troupe, asking, is enthusiastic sister still working? Hasn't this morally corrupt person been fired yet? A few days later, the drama troupe issued a statement. Lu Yun had been expelled. After that, I never saw Lu Yun again. 12. In the blink of an eye, autumn arrived. Pei Chei's incident caused a huge online uproar, and the hospital fired him. I took a long leave to recuperate my health, waiting for Pei Chei to sign the divorce agreement. In just one short month, everything was turned upside down. The pain of betrayal occasionally resurfaces late at night. We had beautiful memories, kisses we couldn't resist, and moments when a mere touch of fingertips made our hearts race and faces flush. It's precisely because of these that these 3 years feel more like a dream. After waking from the dream, we're faced with the bloody reality. I feel miserable, wronged, resentful, and in pain. Fortunately, it's not something too unbearable. Time will eventually smooth everything out. Late one night a few days later, Pei Chei called me. I was grooming Tuanzi, so I put the call on speakerphone. Pei Chei's voice echoed through the empty house. I thought he was going to discuss the terms of divorce with me, yet he suddenly started talking about the past. It's laughable when you think about it. The one who betrayed first ends up becoming the most devoted person in the end. Jojo, do you remember that time at Happy Valley when you wanted to cross the bridge and I carried you on my shoulders? I said calmly, I remember. It was 3 months after our wedding, on my birthday. The first couple to reach the finish line could win a small cake. But you accidentally dropped me into the water. Pei Chei smiled. Yes, I blamed myself all day. At the hot pot restaurant, you got drunk, leaned over to kiss me, and said you didn't blame me. That was the first time my heart raced for you. I didn't speak, just patted the dumpling's bottom as she bounced around on the sofa. Pei Chei asked again, do you remember the night of your car accident? I remember, you got hurt protecting me. And I cried. The Christmases that came after, I remember. The New Year's Eve I worked overtime, and the dumplings you brought me, I remember. The sunrise on a snowy night in Nantang, the sunset by Songming Lake, I remember. Pei Chei fell silent, after a long pause. His voice grew hoarse. Nan Xiao, our memories are so numerous that a lifetime wouldn't be enough to recount them all. Yes, a lifetime wouldn't be enough, I smiled, but the moment you slept with Lu Yun, all those memories ceased to belong to you. You were the one who betrayed everything, so the pain should be yours to bear. I heard Pei Chei's labored breathing escaping from the pain. Pei Chei, I won't erase the past that belongs to us, because I was happy, I was blessed. But that's all there is. The reason I can talk about the past with you isn't because I can't let go, but because I've already moved on. No one said that one person must accompany another for a lifetime. I won't look back, nor will I forgive. The other end of the phone fell into a long silence. Pei Chei asked hoarsely, I don't have a chance anymore, do I? I stroked Tuanzi's ears. Send me the divorce agreement as soon as possible. Let's part on good terms. 13. Pei-Chei's perspective. After signing the divorce agreement, he and Nan Xiao entered the divorce cooling-off period. When they first got married, he felt like 2 months passed as slowly as years. A matchmaking-induced wedding always comes with countless trivial details to worry about. Restless and irritable, he could only hope for it to end quickly. Yet 3 years later today, Pei-Chei feels time has passed so swiftly. The marriage he once resisted with all his might is visibly speeding toward its end. In the last 2 months, Nan Xiao never forgave him. The wife he remembered, soft-hearted and gentle, left with such resolute finality. Pei-Chei often felt that the month he drifted away was like a dream. The first love of his youth had become unrecognizable after all these years. But it wasn't just Lu Yun who had become unrecognizable. There was also him. By the time Nan Xiao was seen again, it was already late autumn. The trees along the street had shed their leaves. She was dressed more heavily than others, seemingly more sensitive to the cold. Pei-Chei thought of their unborn child, feeling an indescribable sorrow in his heart. Nan Xiao, wearing a scarf, walked up to Pei-Chei with a relatively kind tone. There was some traffic on the way. Pei-Chei raised his eyes and looked in the direction she had come from, but there was nothing there. The suspended heart seemed to find a slight sense of relief, but more than that, it was bitterness. I'm in a hurry. Let's make this quick. Nan Xiao was the first to walk towards the Civil Affairs Bureau. For a fleeting moment, Pei-Chei suddenly wanted to grab Nan Xiao, hold her in his arms, and say he regretted it. He wanted to say that Lu Yun was just an obsession from his youth. The one he loved was Nan Xiao. But this thought vanished in an instant, dissipating without a trace. Nan Xiao had said that if an amicable divorce wasn't possible, she wouldn't hold back anymore. His parents were getting old. He was unemployed in middle age, facing the dilemma of having to seek work far from home. Once employed there, the chance of returning would be slim. The parents lost all face over this and remained ill for many days without recovery. He didn't want to lose even the last shred of dignity. There weren't many people getting divorced today. Yet the counter window moved as if someone had pressed a fast-forward button. In the blink of an eye, the paperwork was completed. The moment he received the divorce certificate, Pei-Chei felt it weighed 1,000 pounds, crushing him until he could barely breathe. Nan Xiao stood before him, the autumn sun sliding past the eaves, drawing a stark line of dawn and dusk between him and her. Pei-Chei stood in the shadows and asked Nan Xiao, "What are your plans from now on?" Nan Xiao replied indifferently, "No particular plans. Just work and live as usual." Watching Nan Xiao's hair being tousled by the wind, he instinctively raised his hand to brush it aside. Nan Xiao, having received someone's message, turned her head to look toward the street corner. The strands of hair and his hand just missed each other. A black car had stopped at the street corner at some point unnoticed. Nan Xiao left in such a hurry that she didn't even have time to turn back and say goodbye to him. Pei-Chei stared at the pair of hands on the steering wheel for a long time. His mind in turmoil, his thoughts in disarray. But he didn't dare to approach. He was afraid the person in the driver's seat might be Su Nanqing, or perhaps some other man, so I could only stare unblinkingly at those hands. The autumn wind blew, tears blurring my vision. The day Lu Yun returned, I knew my marriage with Pei-Chei had reached its end. Right, Pei-Chei failed to see clearly. Pei-Chei left his hometown. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. On New Year's Eve, he sat in the chilly duty room, where the biting cold wind outside couldn't penetrate the warmth of fireworks and the joy of family reunions. Once again, he couldn't return home this year. His parents were already extremely dissatisfied with him, and due to that incident, almost all his relatives and friends had ceased contact. Pei-Chei seemed to have truly become all alone. Because of this, the dumplings Nan Xiao delivered through the heavy snow on that New Year's Eve became an unattainable dream for the rest of his life. Just after midnight, New Year's greeting messages came pouring in one after another. A message popped up. "Did you know Nan Xiao got married?" Pei-Chen stared at that message, sitting motionless for a long time. After a long silence, he still couldn't muster the courage to ask who the groom was. Instead, he opened the chat dialogue with Nan Xiao. The last record was